258. That's the number of days we have been deprived of the greatest sport in the nation, the lifeblood of the Lone Star State, Texas high school football. From grueling summer workouts to the feeling of putting on those pads for the very first time, all 1,511 teams have the exact same goal: start the season 1-0. And ironically enough, us at Dave Campbell's have that exact same goal. Welcome in to the second season of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ashley Pickle, the executive producer here at Dave Campbell's, joined alongside the man back for his second season on Texas Football Tonight in the analyst spot. He is our chief petty officer. He is Mr. Ishmael Johnson. And I tried my best to not let this happen, but you know him, you love him, you hate him, he hates your favorite team. It's the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Mr. Greg Tepper, making his debut on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
Yeah, you know, one might call this a big off-season acquisition for Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. I would call it subtraction by addition. But I'm thrilled to be here on the premier Friday night program across the Lone Star State, and I am so thrilled to be here with Ishmael Johnson.
Oh, appreciate
my man.
It, buddy, man. I made this happen, man.
I appreciate that. This is, for those who don't know, this is my agent as well. He's the one who made this happen.
Made some calls.
Oh, it's going to be a long 16-week season,
go.
But it'll be a fun one. As here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, we have some of the best games to spotlight across the entire Lone Star State every single week. Let's go ahead and waste no time. Let's dive in to our Week 1 spotlight games. Up in the DFW, talk about a powerhouse clash. The Aledo Bearcats, 11-time state champions, taking on the Denton Guyer Wildcats. Then we head out east, Tyler Chapel Hill taking on Jasper. Then you continue on. How about we head down south? It is Columbus and Cuero, one of the marquee matchups throughout the entire state. We're excited to talk about that one. Then how about a little crosstown rivalry? Lake Travis making the drive up 35 to take on the Arlington Martin Warriors. Shadow Creek and Summer Creek. This one's a big one down in H-Town, and we round it all out with A&M Consolidated taking on Lake Belton. So very excited for that. We do have broadcasters all across the state, 3 of which we will be bringing on to the show later tonight to give their thoughts on their games at halftime. Russell Maben taking care of that Lake Belton A&M Consolidated game. Andrew Haynes joining us from down in the south, and then Patine Delagadeo down in Houston at Shadow Creek and Summer Creek. Guys, an incredible slate of non-district games to kick off Week 1. Which one are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, I think Aledo and Denton Guyer is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, Aledo, a program that needs no introduction. Denton Guyer trying to get back up in that mountaintop in 6A. Remember, that's a 5A versus 6A clash. I want to see how Aledo, which has some reloading to do, right? Hoss Haney has gone to the next level. A number of those big-time playmakers who led them to a state championship last year are gone. For Denton Guyer, it feels like they may be a year away as well. Just where are they in their kind of trajectory? That's something I'm really keeping an eye on with Aledo and Denton Guyer.
I'm going to go down a classification, a couple classifications, and let's go down to Cuero. Columbus and Cuero, the best six-man player probably of our generation, Grayson Rigdon, making his 11-man debut. Maybe get a little hint that we may have some highlights to watch later on going on there. But he's joining a team in Columbus that was already going to compete for a state championship with Adam Schobel in there and those guys. So, like, what is adding him do for a team that's now stepping up to play a team like Cuero, classification up? That's also very respectable, coached by in Fecoch's second year, I believe.
Yeah, Cuero is a team that is right outside the Dave Campbell's Texas Football top 10 in 4A Division II. So this is a real litmus test for a Columbus team that we have high hopes for. Not just the roster that they had coming in, but also the roster additions that they have in the offseason. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, H-Town, hold it down. Shadow Creek and Summer Creek, are you kidding me? You want to talk about speed and playmakers for Shadow Creek going up against the bully balls that are on the line, both offense and defense, out of a Summer Creek team that we saw just this past season in a state championship game. It is going to be a lot of fun. But this is not the first night of games. We had some Thursday night action.
Yeah, I mean, look, we love to, with this Texas Football Tonight, we are on Friday nights, but the season starts on Thursday nights, so we had some pretty big results happening last night. So let's go down to Freedom Field near the Houston area to talk about one of those teams maybe having a little bit of a coming out party in Galveston Ball taking on Manville as we now go to the highlights. And guess what? We're going to start right off the bat with Listen, there's one name. If you need to know anybody in this game, it's Jonah Williams for Galveston Ball. And the opening kickoff, he's going to take 86 yards. Look at this, untouched. I mean, look at the strides, gargantuan human. I mean, he's a Texas commit. Huge get for them. 5-star according to some, 4-star according to others. Basically, he's good, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, look, 7-0 Galveston Ball right away. We're going to jump back right to the second quarter this time. Senior running back is going to be Joseph Cancia here on the handoff right here. Look at this blocking right here. Had to make one man miss, but that was it. Into the end zone, 14-6 Galveston Ball. I mean, look, the Golden Tornadoes are really, really putting on a show here. 28-6 in the third quarter now. This is going to be junior quarterback Kaiden Barker, who's an emerging prospect of his own, wide open. Look, I just said the one guy on this team you got to watch is Jonah Williams, 54-26, Galveston Ball over Manville. I mean, look, this is a coming out party for a team that could be emerging as a state championship contender, a team that not a lot of people talk about if you don't already know about somebody like Jonah Williams.
Yeah, a wildly impressive debut for the boys, the Golden Tornadoes. I mean, Galveston Ball looked the part. Now, they're going to be in a very difficult district when they get into district play. You take a look at what Jonah Williams was able to do: 2 rush touchdowns, a receiving touchdown, a kick return touchdown, 6 tackles, and a pass breakup. Other than that,
you couldn't throw for one? What's wrong?
Pretty boring night for Jonah Williams. But this is a team in Galveston Ball that's going to have to deal with Port Arthur Memorial, Lufkin, Barbers Hill. They're going to need a guy like Jonah Williams to put on the cape. What impresses me most about this, Pickle, is that this was not just the Jonah Williams show. It was a complete team performance, and I think that's what's more impressive, and I think the thing that can carry them forward moving into 2024.
There were so many different playmakers that allowed Jonah Williams to do what he does, and that says a lot, specifically this early on in the season. Now I want to flip the script here, and if you want to talk about a Manville fan's perspective, let's not freak out just yet, guys. Let me tell you, that game started off with 4 mishaps, 4 crucial mishaps from the special teams units. That is not great, but it's week 1. That happens. It's a young team. There's communication problems. I will say the one scare that I did have was the defense. It looked like the defense was a little bit flustered when you're going up against a potential 5-star. Some would argue a 5-star in Jonah Williams. That's likely to happen in the secondary. Those secondary players are going to need to stand up. But fix those on special teams, that's a totally different ball game from the start there, Tep.
Yeah, and Kirk Martin's going to get that cleaned up. I mean, we're going to talk about it a lot throughout the course of the evening, but week 1 it's fun. We're really excited about the games.
Sure.
And also giant grain of salt for everything. Yes. Some of this is junk data that we're going to be ending up throwing out. But if you're Galveston Ball, put that in the left-hand column. You're feeling really good about the way that things went. So overall, an outstanding way to start the year for Galveston Ball. Very, very good. We are just getting started here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Coming up here in just a little bit, we are going to dive into more Thursday night actions when we do Texas Football Last Night. That's coming up after the break on Texas Football Tonight.
Boo. Want to talk Texas high school football with your 2 favorite dorks? Join television's Greg Tepper and Ashley Gizmo Pickle every Monday and Thursday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Texas Football Today, the flagship program of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the same analysis, insight, review, and preview that you've come to know and love. Talking about Texas high school football and college football all across the Lone Star State.
In a college football world that's increasingly nationalized, Dave Campbell's Texas Football presents The Republic of Football, the only comprehensive podcast on all 13 college teams in Texas. Live every Tuesday at noon on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook pages, and publishing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify shortly thereafter. Host Ishmael Johnson leads the gang in discussing the biggest college football stories from the state. You get coverage of the SEC, Big 12, ACC, AAC, CUSA, and Sunbelt, but with a little Texas twist. No one has their finger on the pulse like senior college writer MC Mike Craven, staff writer Carter Yates, and everyone's favorite Malpal producer Mallory Hartley. Come spend your lunch break, your car ride, or gym session with the Republic of Football. Live on Tuesdays at noon at TexasFootball.com and published everywhere you get your podcast shortly thereafter.
Are you ready to kick off your Wednesdays with a fresh, fun, and fearless take on football? Tune in to Women Talking Football, hosted by the dynamic duo of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, Ashley Pickle, and Mallory Hartley. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m., join us on TexasFootball.com as we deep dive into every corner of the Lone Star State's football scene. From exclusive insights with coaches' wives to on-the-ground reports from across Texas, we've got the inside scoop you won't get anywhere else. Get ready for a game-changing experience where the ladies bring their A-game and you might just find yourself saying WTF in the best way possible. Women Talking Football, where sports analysis meets sass and expertise. You can't miss it.
Want to go deep on Texas high school football? Check out Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Each week, Greg Tepper and Matt Stepp take you inside Texas high school football like nobody else, breaking down the biggest games and the biggest storylines from all across the state. Want to know more about Texas high school football than the guy at your water cooler? Go to TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber so you can get Tep and Step in your podcast feed. Or tune in every Friday at noon at TexasFootball.com for premium insights from Texas high school football experts Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper.
All is right with the world because Texas high school football is back on the air. Welcome back. I'm Greg Tepper, and we are running through some of the big highlights from last night, the Thursday night action. Let's move back to the Houston area, where a huge Thursday night game between Cy-Fair, perennial power, and a Klein-Cain team that is looking to make waves heading into 2024. Get it? They're the Hurricanes. They make waves. That's a Storm joke. Let's get to the highlights from last night down there in Cy-Fair, as we're going to kick things off. Klein-Cain junior quarterback Zach Johnson finds Maxwell Hendricks down the sideline. 74-yard touchdown strike. Klein-Cain draws first blood. It's 7-love. Then back comes Cy-Fair. Usually a rushing attack, but watch their quarterback Clayton Crosby on the wheel route to Wyatt Herbal. 80 yards to the house, and we are knotted up at 7-all. But from there, it would be all Klein-Cain. Second quarter now. Klein-Cain up 22-7. That's when they hand the ball off to their senior running back, who's going to run for a 15-yard touchdown. That puts them up 29-7. Then more from the Hurricanes, this time on the defensive side. Cy-Fair looking to throw. It's going to be picked. He hits the triangle button. Marcus Coleman, 42 yards for the pick and the 6. Puts them up 36-7. Then more from Klein-Cain, pouring it on late in the fourth quarter. They're going to hand the ball off to Jaron Lewis here, as he's going to rumble 6 yards for the touchdown. All Klein-Cain in this one, 57-7. The Hurricanes making a statement in their season opener, a 50-point win over a perennial power in Cy-Fair, a team that we expect to be in the playoff hunt every single year. And I got to tell you, if you're winning your opening week game by 50 points over a team that has more district championships than they can count, I would say it's a pretty good debut for Klein-Cain.
Yeah, look, I'll say this. You look at the schedule for Klein-Cain, this is one of maybe 3 games that you would have on paper had that they would struggle with, right? Tomball Memorial is maybe one of them. You maybe look at Tomball. But as far as like the rest of the season, this is going to be a team that we could look back on in October and say, they haven't lost a game yet. Pickle, I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Oh, well, I thought the thing that I was watching out for most in this game was Coach James Clancy told us before the season started that he was very excited about his receiving corps. Clearly, they're pretty good. He was very excited about Zach Johnson, his new junior quarterback, but he was slightly concerned about losing so many units on the offensive line. Guys, fall workouts must have been really stinking good for that offensive line, because they were tearing down a Cy-Fair team that typically is pretty stinking solid on the offensive line.
Yeah, they pride
or the
themselves in the
defensive line.
Yeah,
they play against each other, offense and defense.
Yeah. But they pride themselves in the trenches. I mean, that's how Cy-Fair football has always worked. And Jeff Miller, the coach down there at Cy-Fair, that's how he wants to build. So for Klein-Cain, to basically rattle off 50 unanswered to win that game, I thought was wildly impressive. And in a Thursday night where you're kind of scrolling through scores, that was one that jumped off the Dave Campbell's app at me.
Yeah, I mean, 2 pick sixes for Marcus Coleman. You talked about one of them. I mean, that defense was just absolutely swarming. And you got to wonder, like, it's a big step for Cy-Fair to replace somebody like a Trey Owens, right? He's making already waves in national spotlights as, like, does Texas have one of the best quarterback rooms because of, the addition of him as a true freshman? That's not an easy guy to replace, right? But I think for Cy-Fair, yeah, you're a little bit concerned now about the defense because it's like, yeah, sure, you knew it was going to be hard replacing him at quarterback, but it's like, okay, 57. I know all of them weren't offensive touchdowns, but still, take those 2 pick sixes away, and you still have to be a little concerned about that.
I bet you that Coach Miller got with Landon Rink, his key unit there on the defensive line last night, and he said, "Son, come on, we're going to need to talk about what it's going to take. It's going to be fine. It's a young team. Let's get show your leadership, and let's get these guys up to where they need to be."
Week 1. Guys, week 1, this too shall pass. Whether it's gone great for you or it's gone terrible for you, I promise you.
Yeah.
Week 1, there is plenty more football to go, but again, Klein Cain's feeling pretty good coming to week 1.
I say so. All right, so as we mentioned, there was games played last night as we recap those 2. But we do have some games going on right now. We'll be back with some scores starting in Class 1A when we get back right from here. You're watching Texas Football Tonight.
Want to talk Texas high school football with your 2 favorite dorks? Join television's Greg Tepper and Ashley Gizmo Pickle every Monday and Thursday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Texas Football Today, the flagship program of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the same analysis, insight, review, and preview that you've come to know and love. Talking about Texas high school football and college football all across the Lone Star State.
In a college football world that's increasingly nationalized, Dave Campbell's Texas Football presents The Republic of Football, the only comprehensive podcast on all 13 college teams in Texas. Live every Tuesday at noon on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook pages, and publishing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify shortly thereafter, host Ishmael Johnson leads the gang in discussing the biggest college football stories from the state. You get coverage of the SEC, Big 12, ACC, AAC, CUSA, and Sunbelt, but with a little Texas twist. No one has their finger on the pulse like senior college writer MC Mike Craven, staff writer Carter Yates, and everyone's favorite Malpal producer Mallory Hartley. Come spend your lunch break, your car ride, or gym session with the Republic of Football. Live on Tuesdays at noon at TexasFootball.com and published everywhere you get your podcast shortly thereafter.
Are you ready to kick off your Wednesdays with a fresh, fun, and fearless take on football? Tune in to Women Talking Football, hosted by the dynamic duo of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, Ashley Pickle, and Mallory Hartley. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m., join us on TexasFootball.com as we deep dive into every corner of the Lone Star State's football scene. From exclusive insights with coaches' wives to on-the-ground reports from across Texas, we've got the inside scoop you won't get anywhere else. Get ready for a game-changing experience where the ladies bring their A-game and you might just find yourself saying WTF in the best way possible. Women Talking Football, where sports analysis meets sass and expertise. You can't miss it.
Want to go deep on Texas high school football? Check out Tepper and Ishmael, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Each week, Greg Tepper and Matt Stepp take you inside Texas high school football like nobody else, breaking down the biggest games and the biggest storylines from all across the state. Want to know more about Texas high school football than the guy at your water cooler? Go to TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber so you can get Tepper and Ishmael in your podcast feed. Or tune in every Friday at noon at TexasFootball.com for premium insights from Texas high school football experts Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper.
How there are games currently going on. The format of this show will be popping into a lot of them. But let's start in with some scores. 1A Division 1 six-man football for those who are the uninitiated, I should say. We have some scores going on here. 1A Division I, starting with a pretty juicy matchup, I'd say. Abbott and Oglesby, 21-16 right there. That's a little bit of an interesting one. I heard you and Tepper talking about that one on Tepper's.
That's one of my games of the night. Oglesby and Abbott is a massive game. Oglesby, the number 1 team in 1A Division II, welcoming in the number 2 team in 1A Division I. That is the coaching debut of Kyle Crawford there at Abbott, taking over for his father, Terry Crawford. Keeping on that Jonesboro game as well, taking on a good Abilene Christian squad. Buena Vista on the road at Erie County. They're in Mertzen is where Erie County is. And then Whiteface, I'll tell you, the Antelopes are one of my sleepers in 1AD1. I really like this team, and they're going on the road to a traditionally strong Follett squad to open up like this. I think is impressive.
Did you just call the number 5 team in the state a sleeper?
I'm telling you.
What are our standards?
Tell me everything you know about the Whiteface Antelopes.
That they're clearly a very good football
Well,
team.
what I'm saying is that they are not like. But why don't you look up here, right?
Yes.
Gordon, Jonesboro, Knox City, Abbott. These are like 1A Division I, especially. You have teams that are traditional powers that year in and year out you start hearing. Whiteface is a relative newcomer, and that's why I think the Antelopes are classified as a sleeper. Ashley,
Number 5 team in the state,
Just
classified
saying.
as a sleeper.
Just
We're starting
saying.
off hot. Well, as the rookie's already making some bold claims here tonight, let's teach him a little bit about the best part of Texas football tonight, and that's the fact that we have hundreds of live games on TexanLive.com. If you like what you're seeing here, and what we're about to do is dive into some games, let me tell you, you can go to TexanLive.com, mash that subscribe button, and be able to watch any of those games. 1,900 games live throughout the entire year. So without further ado, if Miss Mallory Hartley in there in the control room is ready, let's dive in to some Texas high school football game action here
Breaking
on
the
Dave
fourth
Campbell's
wall
Texas
here.
Football Tonight. Oh, you know what we're doing? It's the return of the quad box.
Let's go.
It's baby's first quad box. Wow, what
Our
a
first
thrill
Tepper
to be
thoughts.
here.
Thoughts on the quad box?
It's beautiful. It's everything that I've ever dreamed of. Up there, Denton Geyer and Aledo, a huge game we've got on our eye on. Lake Belton and A&M Consolidated is a game that we've really got our eye on as well, simply because you've got the first game without Micah Hudson. What does Lake Belton look like? And then that Shadow Creek Summer Creek game is going to be fantastic as well.
All right, we're going to dive in here right into C.H. Collins Stadium in Denton County, residing in the same place we are, as we're in the UNT studios. Our crew fully equipped with UNT students, but Aledo looks like they're about to do something here.
Racing Guillory there. And one of the things we have our eye on as far as Aledo is concerned, this is a team that is replacing a fair amount. I believe only 4 starters back from each side of the ball. And one of the things that I'm really interested in seeing is what does life without Hoss Haney look like? Because Ish, you know as well as anybody, yes, they were loaded last year, and they're still really, really talented. But Hoss Haney was such a difference maker for them at the quarterback spot. How do they replace a guy like that?
Honestly, even looking before Hoss Haney, Fowler Nicolosi before him, right? Texas plays this weekend against Colorado State. By the way, Colorado State's quarterback is Fowler Nicolosi, the former quarterback of Aledo before Hoss Haney. So they've had back-to-back FBS / potentially Power 5 quarterbacks. Now it's Gavin Beard stepping back there. And honestly, Pickle, this team this year is a little bit built like traditional Aledo with Racing Guillory back there with the top running back and maybe a quarterback who, I'm not saying anything bad about Gavin Beard, but a little unproven right now, but that's never stopped Aledo from proving their worth in the past.
Aledo, I don't know if y'all know this, Aledo loves running backs.
Yeah.
My guy, like running the ball
Name
is
one.
their game. You can't name one good running
name
back
7.
out of Aledo.
Okay, name 13.
But the other thing that I think is super interesting about this team in particular is big old Peyton P-Dub Williams.
Did you give him that nickname?
No, that's what he wanted to be called, and I said, my guy, P-Dub. But 6'3", 295 pounds there on the offensive line, the single returning starter on the offensive line. You want to talk about losing a player like Hoss Haney and the offensive line?
Yeah, that's massive.
I had a fraternity brother named P-Dub. Down there at the bottom right, you see Denton, Arlington Martin and Lake Travis there as the extra point, I believe, has put Martin up 10-7 now in this one, that game being played at Choctaw Stadium. Or rather, Lake Travis scores to take the 14-10 lead. let's take a look at Cedar Hill and Midlothian. This game down there at Midlothian ISD Stadium is Cedar Hill firing and nearly intercepted by the Panthers. You know, Cedar Hill was one of those breakout teams last year with Coach Carlos Lynn, or rather Carlos Lynn leaving and first-year coach Nick Ward. We had big questions about Cedar Hill, and all they did was roll into the regional final. You know, for all we talk about that District of Doom, Pickle, with 11-6A, DeSoto and Duncanville. We're going to talk a lot about DeSoto and Duncanville. And we should. They've won the state championships each of the last 2 years. But Cedar Hill ain't no slouch either. You got a team like Waxahachie, which is, in a battle tonight. This is a really deep district once again.
Oh my God! Look at the big nasties up front for Cedar Hill. That's a massive line
that's
that
as big
they've
as
got.
offensive line I've seen for Cedar Hill.
And they, you talked about it too. Cedar Hill is a place that has high standards. Since Joey McGuire went out there, won 3 different state championships, and then obviously Carlos Lynn making it in 2020, those standards are incredibly high. So Nick Ward didn't step in to an easy position by any stretch of the means, but he has really had this program going in a positive direction, Ish.
A little bit about Midlothian. Of course, we talked about Micah Hudson leaving Lake Belton, Bryant Westco leaving Midlothian. That's a massive hold replace for Coach Wendell. He's going to depend on, I believe, his son, Bo Wendell, the quarterback, to kind of lead. Oh, as we see a big hole here.
No, stay on your feet, young man!
Oh,
Tell me he
I think
made
it's going to
it.
be short. I think it's going to be just short.
Yeah, but rule of cool.
Yeah,
the rule of cool states that should be a touchdown.
That should be a touchdown.
Right? That should be a touchdown. But
Number one here
he's
agrees
like-
with the rule of cool.
yeah.
He's also upset that he just didn't have the
Burst there,
afterburners.
But once again, the offensive line plow on the road, they go right back to 22 because ball don't lie. Touchdown Cedar Hill, extending their lead down there in Midlothian ISD Stadium, and impressive showing here early from turning those horns loose.
Yeah.
It's a big boy too.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
that's a
great
rumbling running
frame.
Yeah,
on
look,
him.
he's tired, and he should be. He basically ran for a 70-yard touchdown. It's just got broken up into 2 runs.
What a start for Cedar Hill already. Like Pickle mentioned, high standards there. Last year there's some questions coming off of a rough year in 22. To see them now start this year, great. We'll see what happens as we go to A&M Consolidated, Lake Belton, like we mentioned, a team trying to replace not just Micah Hudson. I'm forgetting the other guy's name. There was another prospect that was with Micah Hudson last year for Lake Belton, but
Traylon Bridges.
There you go. A great Broncos team as we see now Consolidated take a commanding lead potentially.
Yeah, Console with another touchdown, and it's a great year down there in the Brazos Valley in the greater College Station area. We think College Station and A&M Consolidated each have a chance to really make a run. Each starting the year ranked, in the top 10 of 5A Division I. And for A&M Consolidated, the real question for them coming in here was that they were losing a lot of athleticism. I would say that they have found a little athleticism, at least in the beginning, as they take an early lead.
That was junior running back Cameron Roston on the carry in there.
Now we matriculate to the Houston area, Summer Creek and Shadow Creek. Shadow Creek, again, now under pressure. Fumble! It's a fumble!
Big
man.
He did the smart thing and fell on it, but
Yes.
that's big man glory moment where you got to pick it up and go.
So Summer Creek's 2 touchdowns in this game are both pick sixes, which means that Summer Creek's defense is doing work.
Which is a big thing because that was the thing that they lost Xavier Atkins on that defense from last year that made the state championship game. And we were, at least for me, I was wondering, okay, what happens when you don't have that senior captain, that elite talent on that side of the ball? I mean, like you said, they're putting up 14 points already by themselves. So far, so good.
And now I believe here comes Summer Creek and the offense with Blake Thomas taking the lead. So this is Summer Creek, again, a team that played for a state championship last year, taking over, and their quarterback Blake Thomas, who Lloyd Avant leaving, graduated, as I think we might get a penalty here. Yeah. Lloyd Avant leaving, I think, puts more pressure on this young man, number 2, Blake Thomas, because he's the guy who's going to need to pick up the slack offensively. This is a team that had great balance last year, but we also saw Blake Thomas kind of grow into the role last year-ish, and that, I think, was really impressive to see. Can he continue that trajectory? Yeah,
as we switch back over to Aledo and Denton Guyer. By the way, one last thing on that last game. Shadow Creek and Summer Creek had only played twice before. 43-7 in 2018 and 64-14 in 2019, both in favor of Shadow Creek. So Summer Creek has some revenge in their blood right now.
And Kenny Harrison's done an unbelievable job with Summer Creek to kind of build them up there in the Humble area. Again, where it's easy to get focused on a team like Atascocita there in Humble. As Alito now knocking on the doorstep.
In the red zone.
We'll see what happens here. Once again, big offensive line.
Ooh.
Ooh, that was almost tipped.
Yeah.
I think it was. It looked like he got a hand on it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that's going to be interesting is just figuring out what the identity of this Alito offense is. Because last year, so much of it went through Hoss Haney. It looks like they're going to have to settle for 3. And what this offensive identity looks like. So what exactly they do, I'm really interested to see. We'll see if Alito can kick this field goal. It's going to end up being about a 25-yard field goal to extend their lead to 10. Alito usually has a pretty good kick.
And I think Robbie Jones knows that the quarterback Gavin Beard in week 1 is not going to be the Gavin Beard when the playoffs start. So like, no need to maybe go for it here and like maybe knock some confidence out of them if they don't get it. As we transition here back to Cedar Hill Midlothian, kickoff and Lou makes a little move here. Midlothian, hello.
All the way to the house. Look at the cheerleaders and the fans down there. They're
that's a great
pumped
shot.
up about that.
Jace McCoy, the senior, houses it
Let's
for the
go.
Panthers. And Midlothian right back in it.
Let's go. Great shot on the bottom sideline, the home sideline too, getting all the celebration down there.
We love a special teams play, don't we, folks?
Oh yeah. Look, that's
how you get back into it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've just gone down there and kind of been punched in the mouth by Cedar Hill. Get a big play on special teams, reset things, and say, all right, we're right back in it. As Alito, we're going to bounce back over to Alito and Denton Geyer. This is Alito misses that extra point, or rather that field goal. We'll see the extra point here for Midlothian. And so Denton Geyer taking over deep in their own territory after the extra point from Midlothian is up and good. And so Denton Geyer now taking over. And Geyer's a team that we think may be a year away. A lot of their best players are in their underclass. But we want to see exactly how they look because, they're going deep. And it's going to fall incomplete, but a flag will fly. I want to see what Alito looks like because Riedheim is a guy, or rather Denton Geyer, because Riedheim is a guy who is not into rebuilding. He's into reloading. And some of the playmakers they've got, like Caden Cobbs and Corbin Glasgow, we think are going to be great. They're just juniors right now. And so the question is exactly how much are they going to grow as the season goes on. That's why I think week 1 may not be a great measure of exactly how good Denton Geyer is going to be.
Well, and it's also funny, too, because you take a look back at last year's game when these two played in non-district. We had it on Dave Campbell's Texan Live on Texas Football Tonight, and it was just star power against star power. Both teams with so many incredible players. And that game went down to the wire. If you remember, we told them do not give Hoss Haney enough time to drive down. And what did they do? They did just that. Alito winning on the last second field goal. But this truly, I know that you were here watching this game. It was so exciting, and it just feels a little bit different this year in a different way. We're looking this year into who can we find on these two teams that is going to step up. Last year, it was just like, oh my God, it's a rock fight out there.
I was about to say, it was just like it felt like you were watching just somebody, a bunch of highlights, huddle highlights, right? It's like, that's going on Hoss Haney's huddle. That's going on so-and-so's huddle. You're just like, you're going to see this in October, November when the scouting tip is just seeing just big play after big play. And this is, I will say, we had questions about Geyer because this was after Jackson Arnold had left, right? And so we're like, oh, what's this Geyer team when you just lose a 5-star quarterback? Turns out they can go deck for deck with Alito, and you're just like, oh, okay, things are fine.
You're going to hear us say this a lot throughout the course of the evening, is that these are not finished products. And I think that especially in this game, that's very acute in that Alito has some growing to do. Like, Alito has a lot of pieces to replace. They've got a lot of players who are getting the first real varsity starting experience. And for Geyer, again, a lot of juniors, a lot of sophomores that are playing key roles. So this is one, as the ball comes out, believe Alito have it? They do. And again, that's the thing that we're trying to parse here, is you want to find out what's real and what's not. And for the Alito defense come up with a big play there, I think it's very promising for them because we think the offense is gonna be pretty good. Let's go to Southeast Texas, or South Texas rather. Let's go to DeWitt County, Cuero and Columbus, as Adam Schobel
running back
gonna fire up for a touchdown. Columbus all over Cuero, 35-17 now, and the Cardinals looking every bit the part of the number 2 team in the state, Ashley, as just showing out in their season opener.
We were so interested in this game for so many different reasons. One, I think just stylistically, you know that Cuero's defense traditionally is always fantastic. Columbus has been one of the most explosive teams in the entire state, not to mention the newcomer who I've heard has had a handful of touchdowns tonight in Grayson Rigdon, the longtime 6-man player of the year. But it's funny because we've focused so much on Grayson Rigdon being there. I think that we've neglected the fact that Adam Schobel, the quarterback, Coach Schobel's son, there's more Schobels. There's thousands of Schobels. The whole town is Schobels, but Adam tends to be the topic of conversation. The restaurant is Schobels.
Build the whole plane out of Schobels.
But Adam Schobel has been truly spectacular. You add another weapon in like Grayson Rigdon, this team is going to kick it up a gear.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Adam Schobel in the passing game, and you add Grayson Rigdon, at least from that highlight, he's in running back. So, like, yeah, a reliable running back who has game-breaking, as we see back here with Cedar Hill Midlothian, you add somebody like Grayson Rigdon to the running game, you don't know what that offense can do now. Are we going to see another return? What is that? Look at that. Oh, fist pumping on his way to the end zone.
With the clap back.
After the mishandled return.
Yeah.
So Midlothian returns the kickoff for a touchdown to pull it within 13-7. And then Cedar Hill is like, hey, like, what if you kick it to us? No, not a penalty.
Oh, they're going to call it back?
No.
Boo. Boo. It's probably the right call. I think that's Bill Theodore.
Oh, then
our friend.
It's definitely the right call.
Our friend with Texas Association of Sports Officials. But again, rule of cool. We need these things to stand. We are just getting going here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, whipping around to the biggest games across the state. Stick with us. We've got more live action from all across the Lone Star State. Stay with us.
Want to talk Texas high school football with your 2 favorite dorks? Join television's Greg Tepper and Ashley Gizmo Pickle every Monday and Thursday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Texas Football Today, the flagship program of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's the same analysis, insight, review, and preview that you've come to know and love. Talking about Texas high school football and college football all across the Lone Star State.
In a college football world that's increasingly nationalized, Dave Campbell's Texas Football presents The Republic of Football, the only comprehensive podcast on all 13 college teams in Texas. Live every Tuesday at noon on the Dave Campbell's YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook pages, and publishing on Apple Podcasts and Spotify shortly thereafter. Host Ishmael Johnson leads the gang in discussing the biggest college football stories from the state. You get coverage of the SEC, Big 12, ACC, AAC, CUSA, and Sunbelt, but with a little Texas twist. No one has their finger on the pulse like senior college writer MC Mike Craven, staff writer Carter Yates, and everyone's favorite Malpal producer Mallory Hartley. Come spend your lunch break, your car ride, or gym session with the Republic of Football. Live on Tuesdays at noon at TexasFootball.com and published everywhere you get your podcast shortly thereafter.
Are you ready to kick off your Wednesdays with a fresh, fun, and fearless take on football? Tune in to Women Talking Football, hosted by the dynamic duo of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, Ashley Pickle, and Mallory Hartley. Every Wednesday at 12 p.m., join us on TexasFootball.com as we deep dive into every corner of the Lone Star State's football scene. From exclusive insights with coaches' wives to on-the-ground reports from across Texas, we've got the inside scoop you won't get anywhere else. Get ready for a game-changing experience where the ladies bring their A-game and you might just find yourself saying WTF in the best way possible. Women Talking Football, where sports analysis meets sass and expertise. You can't miss it.
Want to go deep on Texas high school football? Check out Tepper and Ishmael, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Each week, Greg Tepper and Matt Stepp take you inside Texas high school football like nobody else, breaking down the biggest games and the biggest storylines from all across the state. Want to know more about Texas high school football than the guy at your water cooler? Go to TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber so you can get Tep and Step in your podcast feed. Or tune in every Friday at noon at TexasFootball.com for premium insights from Texas high school football experts Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper.
All right, as we mentioned, there are games going on right now. We're going to bring you some highlights as they come into us. Let's go down to Katy Tompkins and Cy Ranch, talk about some of the action going on down there. We are going to start here with Cy Ranch having the ball as we transition here. We're going to run a little trick play. Look at that separation there. It's William Blaylock on the reception to go up 9-0, plus the extra point right here, 10-0 to go to the second quarter. Katy Tompkins driving to respond. That's BC Bello. Look at them making the man miss, but oh no, he dropped the ball. What happened? Oh, he got to hold on to it, finish the play, and Cy Ranch is going to end their drive and hold on to the ball there. My goodness, come on, guys, you gotta go take the ball to the ground.
Hey, week one. There's gonna be I'm a broken record.
I'll try to calm down, but it is turnovers get me angry.
I get it. There's gonna be some sloppy play. There's gonna be penalties. There's gonna be stuff. I was at a game last night, Winters and Frost, the Ice Bowl. And
no big deal.
And there were it's a flex. And there were some look, it was a sloppy game. I think both coaches are going to come away with him saying there's a lot of stuff that we got to clean up. That's what week one is for. You're going to, in a lot of ways, you're hitting each other full speed for the first time, hitting somebody else. So that's one of the things to keep an eye on. That's why you see a lot of turnovers, a lot of special teams miscues, a lot of penalties in week one. It's one thing to keep an eye on.
Well, we started down south. How about we bring it up north? It is a clash that we've all been looking forward to. Glen Rose, the Tigers, taking on the Zebras of Grandview. There's a little pass on over to Paxton Long to get the Tigers up on a 7-0 lead. Grandview with the ball now. My man's going, uh-oh, my man lost the ball. That was recovered by Glen Rose, but those Zebras, if they're one thing other than pesky, is that they do not go away. And there you go, a 51-yard touchdown to get the Zebras back into the game, as Matt Stepp would say.
Glen Rose, very quietly, a two-time state semifinalist. Remember, this was a team back in 2022. They gave Carthage, the eventual state champ, everything they wanted in that state semifinal.
Sure.
They lost on the last drive of the game.
Yeah. I mean, Glen Rose made it to a state semifinal again last year before losing to Gilmer. This is a program that has established themselves as a perennial power in the 4A ranks. It's no surprise to see them off to a hot start against a good Grandview team. Again, that's a 4A against a 3A, so something to kind of set the tone here. But I think for Glen Rose, one of the questions we had was exactly what that offense was going to look like. They graduate relatively heavy on the offensive side. So far, so good for the Tigers. Things are looking pretty good for them.
It sure is, and looking good for a lot of other teams as well. We've got games all across the state. Let's dive back into them and check in on some of the games that we have going on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Guys, as we're bringing those games back up here, have there been anything out of some of our games that have surprised you so far?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has surprised me a little bit has been A&M Consolidated really kind of getting on the front foot against Lake Belton. That's an A&M Consolidated team we have high hopes for. Lake Belton trying to figure out exactly what they look like. I think that's one of the surprises of the night. Alito and Denton Guy are still feeling each other out.
Sure.
Still trying to figure out exactly.
Feels like a heavyweight fight where you're just kind of not really throwing any hooks or anything like that.
But I would say, again, the not a surprise, but the most impressive team we've seen out here so far has been Columbus. Putting it on and putting on an offensive display in a way that we thought was possible, but in week one is very impressive.
I mean, look, we've talked about him on social media. We've talked about him a ton on the podcast all week. Grayson Rigdon, it's hard to not talk about. It's impossible to talk about this game without talking about what's it like when the best six-man player makes his debut in 11-man. And at one point, I don't know his stats now, but at one point, he was 4 carries, 139, right? And so, that's not bad for your first game against a team, not only just an 11-man team, a 4A team, a team of higher classification than than the team you play for. So, look, it's hard to disagree with that. So I'm going to stick with the same thing, Columbus so far.
Let's matriculate to Denton Guyer and Alito, one of the big games of the night, two state-ranked powerhouses, as Alito's taking a 16-3 lead, but Denton Guyer knocking on the door here in the red zone, trying to punch this thing in, keep this thing close in a first quarter that has been pretty hard hitting. It rolls out under pressure, heaves in the end zone, incomplete. And so the Alito defense putting some pressure on them. That's one of the things that, for all the offensive firepower that Alito has put out, is it looks like they may be settling for a field goal here as Denton Geyer field goal attempt. The Alito defense is essentially kind of beyond reproach. Like, you just know what you're getting every year from the Alito defense, and so far so good. Even when they may still be figuring out exactly what the offense looks like, you know that defense is going to be pretty good.
Which is a really good test to just give us a straight up, pretty good answer about what we could expect out of Denton Geyer quarterback Kevin Sperry. Obviously a move-in from Oklahoma, committed to OU, excited to watch him, but we head back down south. Columbus with the ball in the air is Adam Schobel, and he finds a man. This kid can sling it, guys.
Oh my God.
Look, he's going to TCU.
I was about to say, like, it's funny how, understandably, we've been talking a lot about Grayson Rigdon. It's like, oh, by the way, the forced FCC it's coming back here, but. Oh, yeah, by the way, the four-star quarterback that is also on the team, Adam Schobel, by the way, was not originally committed to TCU, right? He was initially committed to Oklahoma State. A lot of TCU fans were like, he's a legacy. Why aren't we getting this kid? Ended up flipping. He's at TCU now. All is calm in Fort Worth because they don't have to cry looking at their Schobel posters they have around Amon G. Carter Stadium. They can now say
it is fixing to be Schobel Stadium.
It is about to be Schobel Stadium. But yes, they needed that, especially when SMU came and took Ty Hawkins, their other quarterback commit. So he is a massive, massive prospect and a big get for this TCU team that was kind of scrambling at a little point, looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, looking for a quarterback, but he can be the future. You take a look at really what makes him special. I think this is a guy who's got tremendous deep ball ability.
Yeah.
The ability to put that touch on it is, that's next level. And at the 3A level,
I was about to say
that's unheard of. And so some of the throws that he's able to make, especially when he's able to set his feet and throw off the platform, are awfully impressive. So I'm very, very impressed by him. And you see his ability to escape the pocket, make a throw off schedule.
Yeah.
I think this is a guy in Adam Schobel that, for all we talk about the star power there at Columbus, is he's the headliner.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. He's the straw that stirs the drink.
And when he comes in, when they play Hitchcock in that district game, that's going to be a massive, massive game.
Big football. Big game there.
Big game. Well, there's more big games down south as we welcome in one of our broadcasters. That would be Patine Delgadillo, who is down at Humble Summer Creek in Alvin Shadow Creek. We will actually get to Patine here in just a second, but guys, we were talking about some of those surprises. I think that it should not be a surprise. Let me be very clear before I have the whole city of Humble coming after me, that Summer Creek was a team that we watched play in the state championship just this past year. They had insane players like Xavier Atkins and Lloyd Avant, really impressive athletes there. They have obviously graduated. They have moved on. There's a lot of holes in the defense. So we knew that they were going to be good. They still had a lot of players that got to watch 16 games of the season and all of that. But to go up against a Shadow Creek team that is very veteran, veteran Shadow Creek team, which is odd to say that for the first time in really program history for them.
That's a good point.
But they're a very veteran program. They're laying down the hammer right now.
Yeah, and for Summer Creek, it's important to remember the guys they do have back. Chad Woodfork, their big defensive tackle, or defensive lineman, who was so good for them as the season went on. Blake Thomas, their quarterback, who's very good. And they've got a couple of the worker bees, like the non-brand name guys, the guys who are really kind of make this thing go. But furthermore, I just think that this speaks to the culture that they've built there at Summer Creek. I think it speaks to their ability to make this thing work year in and year out. That's the kind of thing that I think is really impressive, because this is Summer Creek. It's one thing to do it once. It is another thing to consistently put a product out there that can contend at the highest level, and especially in a district like 23-6A, where you're dealing with North Shore, you're dealing with Atascocita, it's easy to get lost. Summer Creek is saying, no, we deserve to be in that conversation too.
Yeah, they have defensive TCU commit Chad Woolfolk on the defensive line, I believe a defensive end. But you look at on paper, right? You look at the teams. Shadow Creek's the one with Kobe Sellers, right? Shadow Creek's the one with Anthony Williams,
Ja'Cory Watson.
Ja'Cory Watson, yeah.
4-year starter in that.
And it's okay, on paper, you're okay, this team is clearly the better, more talented team. And Summer Creek came and punched him in the mouth right away. So like you mentioned, it's one thing to, do it again. This is a team that was obviously in a state championship last year, but when you lose a lot of the headline guys, maybe it shows the depth that Kenny Harrison's building there, to where okay, maybe we don't have an Xavier Atkins this year. But guess what? We're still going to be playing well into November, right? We're still going to be playing a little bit into December, hopefully.
And not with an easy schedule.
No.
Yeah, no, not
It's
at all.
not a
Absolutely
cakewalk.
No, absolutely.
all.
Well, let's go back down now to Columbus and Cuero. I'm hearing that there's more action going down there in DeWitt County, and it may be bad news for the folks down there in DeWitt County as Columbus has rolled into town and put up an offensive performance for the ages in this first half. Let's go to the highlights now if we can, see if Columbus and Cuero is going, as now they're knocking on the door again. Schobel rolling to his right, finding his man for the touchdown. It's an easy pitch and catch there, and it's 44 for Columbus, 43 rather, extra point pending. And by the way, that is not a typo. It is still the second quarter.
Yeah.
Still second quarter.
By the way, I do want to give credit. One thing that we mentioned, one thing that we talked about a little bit with Grayson Rigdon is not just him in the passing game and him giving the ball, is that he is pretty tough. And he did lay a pretty good block there. He was in pass pro as Schobel laid on a great pass there. He was in pass pro and kind of laid some wood there a little bit.
They are certainly making a name for themselves. Also, not to mention, real quick, Columbus 3A Division 1, Cuero 4A Division 2. They're punching up a classification
On the road.
and they're handling this on the road. Well, we are excited to dive into another game here as we're talking about Lake Belton and A&M Consolidated. As we welcome in our guy, he's got so much energy, and we are always pumped up to have him on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. That is Mr. Russell Mabin himself. Russell, how are you, my guy?
The man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Pickle? Mr. Johnson? Mr. Tepper? How's everybody tonight? Are y'all having any fun over there?
You know us. We never have any fun at all. But you, my friend, are having a lot of fun, and it seems like some of the A&M Consolidated fans are having fun as well. Give us a little bit of your first initial thoughts heading into this game.
It got started early, Pickle. I mean, they hadn't even finished the national anthem, and Cam Vines was headed to the end zone 90 yards with the opening kickoff of the entire season. It was so exciting. Lake Belton struggled to get the offense going, losing the ball on downs twice, but they got a couple of picks to kind of keep them in it, eventually getting a touchdown from their freshman running back, Zion Dupree, number 38. The A&M Consolidated Tigers responded very, very well with a rushing TD from, they brought in the beef. They brought in the big package. They brought in Puna Faketi, the defensive tackle. They brought in all these defensive guys. They hand the ball to a linebacker, Ethan Walton, and he crams it in there for a touchdown. And then they got the ball back on a punt, and they got a beautiful block from the right side of their offensive line. And Ralston takes it in for the touchdown, walks the dog like 25 yards. It was great. And Broncos were really up against it. They missed one extra point, so it was 20-7. But then the Broncos got the ball, a deep ball to Christian Onchueri, and then they got a fade to their D1 prospect, Davion Peters, number 10, to bring it to 20-14, and they get the ball after halftime, Pickle.
Absolutely. Well, Russell, I know that we got to talk last week down in Austin, and we said this is a Lake Belton team that obviously is losing the guy in their five-star Texas Tech commit in Micah Hudson, but Davion Peters is still there. You said those two are thick as thieves and that y'all had a good feeling about how well Davion was going to do. How are you noticing his performance going so far in the very early part of the season without his guy Micah Hudson next to him?
They were kind of treating him a lot like they treated Micah Hudson last year, Pickle. They got him on a deep post for about 45 yards earlier in the game. If the ball would have been placed a little further out, he would have taken that one to the house. The next play, they hit a screen to him, and he jitterbugged for a first down. And so they're using a lot of the wide receiver screens. A couple of them have almost been jumped. A couple of really nice plays being made by the Tiger defense, almost jumping them for pick sixes. But they've also faked them and popped the one to Christian Onchueri. So to me, it's going to be about the story of this game so far has been the front seven of A&M Consolidated. They've been bringing pressure after pressure, and the Lake Belton's had very little answer for it. The running the ball has been almost non-existent for the Broncos so far.
His name is Russell Mabin. It's right there on his shirt. Russell, we appreciate you so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck in the second half. We'll talk to you again soon, bud. There he goes, Russell Mabin, always bringing the energy from any of our games down there with Lake Belton. Very.
He should be in this chair. I should be down there. He should be doing this.
Absolutely, he should be. Very interesting there to hear. We were talking about how A&M Consolidated Well, we go over here to an almost catch there by Geyer right before the half.
Yes,
Sperry wanted a flag maybe there for roughing.
Yeah, looking there as they're thrown in the end zone, Kevin Sperry unable to connect with his man there as Denton Geyer still trying to punch it in. Looks like they may be bringing in the backup quarterback here early. You know, when you talk with Reed Heim, he'll tell you that like they still consider that to be a relatively open quarterback competition to figure out exactly who's going to be the guy there as they bring in the backup quarterback, see if he can punch this in.
Well, Pickle, you mentioned earlier about Kevin Sperry. That's an underrated storyline, right? He is an Oklahoma commit who was here as a sophomore, was in Oklahoma. I think Carl Albright or something. I forgot exactly the school in Oklahoma.
Carl Albert.
It ain't called Oklahoma football tonight. You ain't got to know that.
That's true. Fair enough. He was in Oklahoma, and now he's back in Texas at Denton Geyer. So, like, that is a very underrated storyline. Like, Denton Geyer theoretically does have a D1 FBS Power 5 quarterback on their hands.
Absolutely, and someone that's going to go back across the border and potentially play for the Sooners. I think that says a lot about, we talk about it a lot, it's the best high school football in the nation. When you're sitting there trying to prime yourself to get ready to potentially be an SEC quarterback, where do you want to play? You want to play at a 6A program in the DFW in the state of Texas. You want to play in the Houston programs. Anywhere across the state, Texas high school football is just different.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a game now where, again, we've talked about it, that for Denton Geyer, they need to figure out what their offensive identity is going to be moving forward. Like, you know, it's early, they're feeling some things out, and it's tough to come out of the chute and play a team like Aledo. Yeah. I mean, that's a hard ask.
Here's Aledo.
I know that's a 6A against a 5A, but that's the 5A. You know what I mean? That is the Texas high school football program of record there in Aledo. And so for Denton Geyer, right now, I think that what they're going to do is when they go into halftime, and then especially whenever they go into when they finish this game, they're going to take a look at this tape and say what worked, what didn't, and they're going to have a lot to break down. Okay, speaking of breaking down, let's go down to some 2A scores from across the state of Texas, and we are spanning the state here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Big games all across the state, 750 games, actually the largest slate of games in Texas high school football history tonight. Let's take a look at some 2A scores from across the state of Texas. Stratford, the number one team in 2A Division II, taking it to Abernathy right now, 19-7. Mart down 21-0 to Whitney in the opener. That is something to keep an eye on. Shiner, again, dropping down from 2A Division I to 2A Division II, taking on a 3A Hallettsville team and beating them right now 15-0. Keeping an eye on Munster, up on a private school there in Fort Worth Lake Country Christian. And Bremond up on Kearns 8-7 as well.
Let me put you on something real fast.
Oh, yeah?
Tom Beam. Up there against Cumbie. So we talked on WTF the other day, Women Talking Football. If you don't listen, you should. Shameless plug there. But we talked to Brig Banks, who is up there at K10 Sports, and he said, we asked him if anybody could shock anybody out of the greater Texoma region. Obviously, there's the Gunner machine, there's the Pottsboro, the Winsboro. If anyone could shock you, who would it be? And he said, man, I'm high on Tom Beam. He goes, they've got some good playmakers out there. He goes, they're not going to win a state championship, but he's saying if you're looking for a program that could potentially turn it around, 7-0 up there for the Tom Beam Tomcats.
Now, I think that people are going to look at that Mart score, losing to Whitney. One thing to keep in mind, Mart, 2A Division II. Whitney, 3A Division I. Sure. Okay, so you are talking about 3 divisions bigger than them.
Because no one will play Mart because they're so good.
Right, nobody will play Mart. Mart has a lot of trouble finding takers because nobody wants to get lined up to get punted into the sun. This is but for Whitney, an early start for them. We have some questions about Mart. They start the year, I believe, number 3 in the state in 2A Division II. It's a team we think is going to be very good, but they need to figure some things out. We know DeMontrell Medlock is going to be a star for them, but it's going to be really interesting to see how Mart figures things out. But I would not look at that scoreline and say, oh my gosh, Mart is losing. Yeah. Remember, there's a huge enrollment gap there.
Similar, Kevin Hoffman, similar to Jason Todd, right? They love to not schedule to lose, but like they know they're going to take some lumps, right?
Yeah, Jake Fizel, Billy Mathis, Jason Todd, all of those guys.
Punch
when you're
up some
good,
weights.
you have to punch up.
I was about to say, because they're going to play a schedule from basically week 3 till late September, October, where they just mow through everybody.
Well, so. I think it's twofold. Yes, absolutely. They want to play a murderer's row because they want to get battle tested. Also, you kind of get to realignment day, and it's like, we need a week 2.
True.
And you start looking around.
And then Whitney's like, hey, we're over here.
Suddenly everyone's just like, I don't know if I see Kevin Hoffman over here. That's kind of part of it too, is that the scheduling that comes along with it is that, like, nobody wants to play you. And so it ends up, that's how you get a game like South Oak Cliff and North Shore to start the year, is that South Oak Cliff can't find anybody to play them.
Yeah.
North Shore can't find anybody to play them. And so they're just like, well,
the dance floor clears and you just see one other person on the outside.
You're like,
hey.
I guess we're doing this, you know.
So that was 2A Division 2. We also have a 2A Division 1 scores on deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. One of our favorite classifications, Refugio up there, the number 2 ranked team in the state out of Region 4, 13-0 over Catula. Timpson, we wondered what they would look like without Terry Bussey. Early returns looking well. How about Stanford? 36-6 against the Albany Lions. That one, my friend, has got to be the most shocking score up here.
Yeah, Honey Grove up on Hugo, Oklahoma, because Texas Forever, Garrison and Wascom knotted up, and then Hawley, the Bearcats, taking on the Roscoe Plowboys in a dogfight. That's the one, you're exactly right. Stanford and Albany's a game we had our eye on. Stanford is, now that's 2A Division 1, a state-ranked 2A Division 1 against a 2A Division 2. That's the 2-time defending 2A Division 2 state champs in Albany. This is life without Adam Hill.
Yeah.
The real question for me about Albany is, what do they look like without the freight train that they were able to hand the football to, 30 times a game? Right now, it may take some time. I think a lot more for Albany is going to fall on their lefty quarterback, Chip Chambers, what he's able to do offensively. That scoreline, I think, is more about how impressed I am by Stanford than I am worried about Albany, simply because Albany's got Denny Faith. They're going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? They're going to figure it out. He's one of the winningest coaches in Texas high school football.
Is it 38 years now?
Yeah, I mean,
39,
that
38,
dude,
I think.
That dude has forgotten more football than we'll ever know. But one thing I am interested in is how they get their offense going and where they turn to offensively when it matters most. This, although I will say, again, is much more about what Stanford is doing than maybe what Albany is not doing.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that this is all something that we will continue to keep our eye on. It is week 1, and it is a lot of fun here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. We hope you're having as much fun as we are, but guess what? We're not going anywhere. Don't worry. We will be right back after this break to talk a little more Texas high school football. Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Texas Army National Guard are honored to present the Coach of the Week Award, celebrating one head coach in 7 different classifications. That's 6A all the way down to 6-man, and of course, private school every single week. Think your head coach deserves some recognition? Nominate them under our weekly Twitter and Facebook post. Those will come out Friday at 10:30 p.m., Saturday 8:30 p.m., and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. That's facebook.com/Dave Campbell's or at DCTF on Twitter. Thank you to Texas Army National Guard for helping spotlight the hard work and dedication of high school head coaches across Texas.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Ozarka will announce 7 Team of the Week winners for 14 weeks of the Texas high school football season from Class 6A down to 6-man, and including private schools. Head to TexasFootball.com, go to the Awards tab, and find Ozarka Team of the Week to see this season's winners and vote for your program to be named. Winners are announced every Wednesday on Twitter and Facebook.
Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Panini America are teaming up this season to honor the best high school quarterbacks across the state of Texas. 7 quarterbacks, 1 in each classification, 1A through 6A in private schools, will be named Quarterback of the Week and will receive a virtual Panini America trading card to commemorate their performance. Check out which outstanding quarterback was selected each Tuesday morning on the Dave Campbell's Twitter and Facebook pages.
Takis is the presenting sponsor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Sustainability Champions Award, spotlighting influential kids looking to pursue a career focused on social, environmental, and economic well-being for our future. Be sure to check out this week's Spotlight Game of the Week, where we'll be spotlighting 2 Sustainability Champions Award winners. Thank you to Takis for your support of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Sustainability Champions Award. For more information, visit TexasFootball.com. The party starts here. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight here every single Friday from 7:30 to 10 o'clock. We hope that you enjoy partying with us. You know where there's a party happening? 3A Division II. Let's check out some scores as we head over to a very intriguing classification in this one. What are you guys seeing there that catches your eye?
Hello, West Orange Stark.
Yeah, West Orange Stark, very impressive. Now that is
Hiawatha Hickman.
It's a 4A Division II against a 3A Division II. Keep in mind,
but this is a team that struggled last year under Hiawatha Hickman. So this is whether or not this is a classification down for them. Very impressive, 21-8 over Newton. Right now.
Jacksboro up 22-0 on an Eagle Mountain school. And if you're a Texas high school football sicko and you're thinking like, wait, I thought I knew all the schools, that is Eagle Mountain's varsity debut. They're there in the Saginaw area. They are starting their program there.
Shout out Cannon Valenzuela.
Yeah, Lexington up on Marlin 7-0 or 6-0 rather, the number 7 team in the state. Mason and Wall going at it here. Wall with an early lead, and then Gladewater up on Dangerfield at 21-13. There, the number 2 team in 3A Division II, punching up classification to 3A Division I or the division. So keep an eye on that. Gunner at home against a good Houston Kincaid team. That is a state-ranked private school team in Houston Kincaid. Gunner's got an incredible, a really difficult non-district schedule, again, for a lot of the reasons that we talked about with other programs. But I think that for Gunner, they start the year as almost the prohibitive favorite in 3A Division II. What I would like to see, I mean, nobody in Division II or nobody in Region II has challenged them in years, right? Canadian, in my opinion, they got a good win last night against a team from Oklahoma. They usually play a team from Oklahoma because they're way up north. They get a win. I think they're down, my opinion.
Sure.
I think so. Gunner's going to be a favorite to get there. I would like to see what would happen in a potential title game against a Newton or a Dangerfield, like a hyper-athletic team like them. But Gunner, I think, even without Walker Overman, they got Preston Tarpley taking up the quarterback spot. They look like the favorite.
I was going to say, I mean, of course, they have Colin Peacock, right, still, who's healthy this year. He was healthy. He was hurt a little bit last year during their state title run. But like you mentioned, Walker Overman was kind of the do-everything guy. He was probably one of my favorite players to watch. Pickle, I know you probably agree with that. And all
big
the
Walker Overman girl.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, it's not a they're a machine, so like you kind of figure the cog goes in somewhere and then it keeps rolling. But that's still not nothing, right? Cannon Lemberg's at SFA right now, a D1 caliber receiver. So again, Gunner, the system, Jake Fizzell knows what he's doing, but there are some pieces and a little bit of things where it's like, oh, we'll see.
Yeah, they'll never have a quarterback like Walker Overman before. I think he is the platonic ideal of a Gunner quarterback. He just ran that offense so well. So even when they plug and play a guy like Preston Tarpley, who they feel really, really good about, there's still going to be some transition there simply because it's not the guy who I think was so perfect for that offense.
Yeah, for viewers that haven't been used to the three of us being up here together, a phrase, the phrase that pays is he rocks. And there are certain dudes in Texas high school football that they're not 5 stars. They're not going to go play in the SEC. But they rock, and we love dudes who rock.
Yeah, here's a real positioning statement for Dave Campbell's Texas football, right? A real mission statement. High school football matters. High school football and being great at high school football is awesome, and we want to celebrate that. That may not mean that you're a 5-star caliber receiver or 5-star caliber player. That doesn't mean you're not an incredible player and an incredible Texas high school football player. Now, sometimes there's a lot of crossover there. A lot of the great prospects also happen to be super good high school football players.
Right.
But that's one of the things that we keep an eye on, and one of the reasons that we really like celebrating small school football as well.
All right, it was one of the games that we've been looking forward to the most this week. The marquee matchup happening down there between Columbus and Cuero, and we have our guy who was lucky enough to be in-house. We're pumped up to be here. But there's a slight part of me that really would love to be Andrew Haynes as we bring him in. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Obviously, so much hype going into this game. What have you seen so far from a very high-scoring affair?
Man, Columbus is good. They have not been able – Cuero hasn't been able to stop Columbus at all. Cuero has moved the ball a little bit, but Columbus, every time they get the football, they've punched it in. Grayson Rigdon, I think the hype was real on his 6-man accolades, and Adam Schobel throwing the ball very well, showing some mobility, showing some legs. The Columbus Cardinals are looking like the real deal right now. Cuero's looking pretty good. They've had some fits and starts with their young team, but I think they're starting to find their offense a little bit. They just need to figure out what's going on defensively.
Andrew, let me ask you a question. How much of this do you chalk up to Columbus's offense being good versus Cuero's defense struggling? I know it's week 1; it's hard to parse that, but where do you kind of put those things together?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably mostly Columbus's offense being good, and the players that they brought back, and just all the experience they have. I'm sure Cuero, they've made some nice plays defensively. They've been on some passes, and have had a couple of plays where the Columbus, running back or wide receiver just escapes the grasp. I think going down the road, Cuero facing some other teams are probably going to be able to step it up a little more. Right now, they're just being overrun a bit by Columbus's talent.
I was going to say, I got to ask personally, the guy that we've been wanting to talk about all week, Grayson Rigdon, making his 11-man debut. How's he look so far? What have you seen from him? Where have they lined him up? What position have they used him in?
Yeah, Rigdon has mainly been in the backfield. He, in the first drive, got the first carry, ended up scoring a touchdown a couple plays later. Third drive, I believe it was, they had, after a Cuero touchdown, they had the ball on the 29, handed it to Rigdon, and I don't know if he was touched. 71 yards to the house. He has been shifty. He's been fast. He's pretty clearly got a really good thing going.
Well, there he is. He is Andrew Haynes. Andrew, you won the lucky draw tonight, and we really appreciate you being down there for us. Go enjoy the rest of what is sure to be a high-flying affair.
Yeah, I mean, look, you put up a 40-burger in the first half of the first game of the season on the road against a team bigger than you, like thumbs up, like no notes. You know what I mean? Like things are looking pretty good for Columbus, and I think that there was this. We've heard people saying like, man, you guys are all about Columbus this year. You guys are putting a lot of stock into Columbus, and it's true. I think one of the reasons why is because of the depth of firepower that they've got there. Remove the Grayson Rigdon factor, right? They were already the number 2 team in the state in 3A Division I before he moved in there. I don't think adding Grayson Rigdon, in my opinion, is enough to single-handedly vault them over Malakoff, the reigning 3A Division I state champs, as the number 1 team in the state. We'll find out what the Tigers do in week 1 as well. But for me, I think that when you take a look at what Columbus was able to do tonight, they are, quite frankly, just living up to the hype. That's just it. Like there was considerable hype about this program coming into 2024. Week 1, early returns, very, very positive.
Yeah, no, it's been very fun to watch. I'm excited to see how the second half shape out as well, because you've got to think about the fact, too, that this is a Columbus team that is a very solid unit, and it's a Cuero team that's building up a little bit. Do they tire them out? Yeah. That line for Columbus, also, we always say that the big guys up front don't get enough credit for what they're doing. They do such an unbelievable job of providing Adam Schobel time in that pocket to pick his targets. Mm-hmm. That hurts after a certain amount of time, especially it's hot down there. It's the early odds of this season. Does that end up working? And I believe we've got a really big highlight coming here from Aledo and Geyer.
Yeah, Aledo in the red zone again as Geyers come back, stormed back to tie this game up at 16 in what has been a back-and-forth affair. Remember, Aledo had a 16-3 lead in this ball game, but the Geyer defense has really bowed its neck here in the first half, and see if Aledo can punch this thing in. One of the things again that Aledo has always prided themselves on is having an outstanding offensive line. You're seeing them shift out of the under center thing, hand off to Racing Guillory. Will have a timeout, I think, on the field. Is that right? Yeah, it looks like they're going to bang a timeout here. As Aledo and Denton Geyer doing battle there at C.H. Collins Stadium. Let's go to A&M Consolidated and Lake Belton as we got another highlight coming into the mothership here. As a little toss there as Lake Belton taken off down the sideline inside the 10, inside the 5, knocking on the door, looking to take the lead, at least knot it up and potentially take the lead on A&M Consolidated as that running game. And now See.
It has been a preponderance of Amber Linen tonight. Every big play has just been called back because there is mustard on the lettuce. What are the other really fun flag phrases that we like to use?
I'm mad at penalties.
I'm going to throw a penalty on the penalty.
Rule book out the window. On
Yeah, exactly.
Just throw 'em out. Come on now.
Let him play, ref. No, I'm kidding. Like, we love our friends in the Texas Association of Sports Officials.
Don't be a guy who heckles the ref.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be that guy.
But this would be a really big opportunity for Lake Belton here.
Yes.
You heard Russell Mabin say just how dominant that the front had been for A&M Consolidated, and if they're going to start trying to stay in this game, it's exactly what we just talked about with the last game of Cuero and Columbus. There are big guys up front. That's a lot of beating as the night's going on. But if Lake Belton can come out of the gates right after half, recollect themselves, and tie this ball game up, we're in for a really good one on this one, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is a Lake Belton team that we thought was they're going to turn more to Eli Mascarenas, their quarterback, as you see him kind of rolling to his left, firing down the sideline. Looks like it's going to be incomplete. Looks like it might have gotten intercepted if he had kept his feet in bounds. But this is a Lake Belton team that was always more than just Micah Hudson. But now, without him, they are going to need to find those kind of weapons on the outside, and maybe it is a guy like Davion Peters who has stepped up in a big way for them. Or maybe they're going to just turn more to Eli Mascarenas.
I was about to say, he's somebody who almost ran for about 400 yards last year, so he can move. Do they rely on him a little bit more in the running game? Maybe. Who knows? It shows he has the ability to run, but maybe that's a little bit something they lean on a little bit more.
Yeah, one of the things that remember, I keep saying it's week one. It is week one. There is something to be said about not putting a ton of, not put everything you've got on tape in the first round or first week, as the A&M Consolidated defense flying to the football there, swarming, coming up with a big play there, knocking him down for a loss. But this is how much do you put on tape? How much do you let your quarterback, Eli Mascarenas, run simply because, A, you don't want to get injured, and B, maybe you don't want to put that on wax for your next opponent.
Sure.
So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Keep an eye on A&M Consolidated and Lake Belton as the season goes on. Let's go to the quad box.
Quad box.
Let's go, baby.
Quad box.
We're out of that the halftime lull there. We've got quad box. We've got action
We
now.
did some halftime tap dancing, but we're back, baby. The quad box is back.
By the way, quick plug here. If you want any of these games without us yapping, particularly Tepper yapping, TexanLive.com. You can subscribe if you want to go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe or TexanLive.com, either or. You can click on any of these games. We have them in full, right? Again, if you don't want us cutting in and out, blah, blah, blah. Some people like this. I personally like this, right? Getting some commentary with all the games. But if you're a Lake Belton fan, it's like, I wish Greg Tepper would stop talking about this team. Just go watch the Lake Belton game. You can do that on TexanLive.com.
Can someone cut this for social? That was the best sales pitch I have ever heard in my life. We just got more subscriptions now than we've ever had before.
Subscribe to TexanLive.com.
Conversion rate for the next 5 minutes.
Subscribe to TexanLive.com to shut me up. TexasFootball.com/subscribe as well. Big games going on all across the state here as we continue to roll on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Bouncing back over to C.H. Collins Stadium in Denton as Alito knocking on the door against Denton Geyer. It is now the second quarter. Looks like it's going to be as we bounce in between a couple of games here. But Alito looking to retake the lead after Geyer has stormed back from an early 16-3 deficit. Beard, their quarterback, stepping up the pocket. A little shovel pass!
Oh,
is he in?
No, he's just going to be just short. Just short.
Once again.
What a reach.
Rule of cool. But a great play there. Kind of beyond his years there. That's the kind of play. It's a very heady play that you need to make when you're under that kind of pressure to get there down at the 1 yard line. It's going to bring up 3rd and goal at the 1 as another timeout there on the field there in Denton ISD at C.H. Collins Stadium. We're rolling here on Dave Campbell's
Texas Football and Texas Army.
Johnson with you every step of the way. TexasFootball.com for all things football across the Lone Star State. And Pickle, let me ask you as we go back to the A&M Consolidated Lake Belton game. Looks like a punt here, and A&M Consolidated going to get the ball back, let it roll. Just get away from the ball. Like, what do you?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Walk it back. Walk it back.
Like Peter. You know what I mean?
Back it up, Terry.
Let's take a look at another game that's a kind of a cross-regional matchup between Lake Travis and Arlington Martin. This game go down at Choctaw Stadium, formerly Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, Texas. Lake Travis and Martin, as Lake Travis firing a pass there, Chaston Ditta to his man to get across midfield. Lake Travis is a team Ish, that needs no introduction. One of the most prolific teams in the state of Texas. And once again, they've got a quarterback in Chasten Ditta they feel really good about.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who kind of took some snaps last year, as you see here.
Oh,
great move.
He's loose.
Let's see if he can get in.
Come on,
Got it.
No!
That's a touchdown.
Give it to him.
This is the Lake
Give it
Travis
to
team
him.
that's trying to get back
rule
to
of cool.
Let's go, baby. You had to give it to him.
Yeah.
This is the Lake Travis team trying to get back to its DNA, right? Last year was very different, right? It was a defensive team, a great defensive team at that. And then, by the way, offensively, they lived via the run game, right? So this is a Lake Travis offense that they have a quarterback, again, that they're really confident to throw the ball with Chasten Ditta. He's next in line. Basically, they just pump him out of the factory at Lake Travis. But, we'll see if they return to form this year.
Bouncing here to Katie and Dickinson in the Houston area. One more thought on Lake Travis. Our friend Jay Plotkin down there at the Lake Travis View sent me this note. Lake Travis has run for more yards than they've thrown the last 3 seasons.
Which
is a shocking, shocking statistic if you know anything about Lake Travis.
Yeah.
But this is a really fascinating ball game, and that Battle of the Lakes with Lake Travis and Westlake with two great quarterbacks again, with Reese Wise there at Westlake and then Lake Travis with Chasten Ditta is going to be interesting. Bounce down to the Houston area in Dickinson. It's Gator country as Dickinson punting the ball away to Katie in a top 25 matchup fumble.
Talk about an uncharacteristic mistake from a Gary Joseph coach squad right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a long walk to the sideline for that returner.
I know exactly the face that Gary Joseph is making right now.
Is it the same face?
It's the same face, but maybe a slightly more aggressive.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I will tell you this about Katy, okay? And because of course they need no introduction. Another one of the proudest programs in Texas high school football. This is a relatively young Katy team. Okay, just 8 starters back from last year's team. Now, look, they had a 10-0 JV team last year.
Sure.
The reinforcements are on their way. It is rinse and repeat for Gary Joseph. There's a reason he's on the gatefold cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, right? With that said, with a young team, what do we talk about? We talk about special teams errors. We talk about turnovers and stuff like that. That's not necessarily uncharacteristic of teams like that. Meanwhile, Dickinson, Coach John Snelson, has done an unbelievable job with this program, kind of getting them in the mix every single year. They bring back more, especially on the offensive side. They're going to be very good up front. Keep an eye on their big number 77, their offensive tackle Tyler Thomas, who is the anchor of that offensive line. That's a guy they really feel good as they run off the left side behind him into the red zone. There is Dickinson looking to extend their lead. But this is a Dickinson team that this would be anytime you beat Katy, okay? And anytime you beat a Katy team, Gary Joseph has lost a grand total of 26 games ever. That's a feather in your cap, plain and simple. So they can pull this off. That would be huge.
Well, Dickinson's been to the playoffs for 11 straight years. This is kind of one of those marquee teams down in Houston that is consistently good, but has just never quite made it over that hump. And I know that John Snelson, a fantastic coach who really has enjoyed his time coaching this program, would love for this to be the year where they say, okay, hey, we're 21 right now, but watch us play teams like this and continue to break that down. We head back over to Aledo and Denton Geyer. Looks like Aledo is about to kick.
Yeah, Aledo up 23-16 against Denton Geyer, and a little squibby here, I believe, late in the second quarter here. But Denton Geyer with the ball. Denton Geyer. Head of steam.
The squib is supposed to stop this from happening. Oh my goodness!
Let's go. Denton Geyer, take a bow.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We gotta say who
That's
that
the
is.
reason you squib is so something like that doesn't happen.
You're struggling on offense. Say, all right, we don't even need the offense. It's fine. Just kick it to us. We'll score
Why would
that
we
way.
possibly need offense when we have a special teams unit that can absolutely take that over? You want to talk about getting yourself back into a game? Hello.
Okay, how many kick return, punt returns have we seen tonight already? Right?
2 or 3.
Like two or three,
Literally one last night with Jonah Williams, and then
He had two. He had one, and then Manville had a kickoff return for a touchdown.
Man, my goodness.
I mean, there's been special teams, huge plays all across the state.
I'm calling it right now. Year special teams.
That rocks.
Let's do it.
Things I am here for. The year of special teams.
Yeah, exactly
is there a bell? Ding ding. Year special.
Exactly.
We're declaring right now.
Start the movement. We'll make shirts next week.
Yeah. There are huge games going on all across the state. We've got you covered every step of the way here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. Let's bounce on over to the DFW area, Cedar Hill and Midlothian. Cedar Hill with the lead and the ball here in the third quarter, as once again trying to get back to the playoffs and make some more noise as a man gets loose.
Busted coverage there.
What a
Turn them
dime.
horns loose. Cedar Hill hits pay dirt. as the Longhorns extend their lead over Midlothian, 19-7 extra point pending down there at Midlothian ISD Stadium. Let's now bounce over to A&M Consolidated and Lake Belton. And A&M Consolidated unable to cash in on their defensive stand as they are going to punt this ball away to Lake Belton as a nip and tuck affair. A game that looked like Consolidated might run away with, but Lake Belton defensively has bowed their necks a little bit as this punt will be down inside the 24. Every time they get to a special teams play, now it's the year of special teams.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, like, are we going to need to do that? Speaking of special teams, by the way, Arlington Martin, pretty good special teams.
Always has been.
Lake Travis with the ball here near midfield, up 24-10 as they've taken the ball back here. We'll see what Chaston Dida can do with it. He can hand it off.
That is effective. Very effective, apparently.
It is very effective. Keep doing that.
So, and that was the thing about Chaston Dida, too. I mean, you look back at his stats from last year, 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns passing, but you got to remember, he didn't take over until very late in the season when Caden Leon got hurt. And so that's what I think just you could see the twinkle in Hank Carter's eyes start going off.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, exactly. We've never been more back. And so just the amount of passing yards that he had alone last year in such a short amount of time really shows just how much control he had over the offense the moment that he came in.
That was Van Hopping, by the way, on the long run there, and just overthrowing his big junior wide receiver, Patrick Colby, is Chaston Dida. But this is a Lake Travis team that we think, again, has the pieces to get back in there. You remember back last year, their opening round playoff game. Do you remember who it was against? Played Vandegrift.
That's right.
They played Vandegrift in the opening round, and they won. They went and they knocked off the state runner-up from a year ago, and they did it with defense. But that was really the coming out party for Chaston Dida and company as they were able to make enough plays there as he's going to drop back, look to the end zone, fire, and it's a touchdown. Nice. To Josiah Thomas. The tight end hauls it in, and LT expands their lead to 30-10 extra point pending as Lake Travis putting it on Arlington Martin there at Choctaw Stadium in Arlington. Impressive from Lake Travis extending this lead. As we now back to DeWitt County, where Columbus and Cuero are doing battle, with Columbus up 44-17, and a Columbus team looking to kind of stack some positive things here. The third year under Coach Jared Feacock. He's had 2 great years to start it. I know there's high expectations down there, but there's high expectations every year in Cuero.
You always say it. Cuero is a football crazy town, and their fans are football crazy.
We can't see the home side because the hard cam is facing the visitor side, but I promise you it's full of green people. I promise you.
I'm going to choose to believe that if the camera ever shakes, it's really just because of the movement that's going on in those
Boom!
What a stick.
Woo! A big hit from Columbus.
Columbus is on fire.
Laying the lumber there.
And that's a side of the ball that we haven't even talked about.
Brody Vincleric laying the lumber there.
We focus so much on how dynamic their offense is. You want to talk about a defense that doesn't get enough credit, as it looks like we're taking a knee possibly for an injury here. But the defense here really just not getting enough credit for the unit that it has really developed itself into.
Yeah. Port Neches Groves and Klein Oak, the reigning 4A Division 2 state or 5A Division 2 state champs, as Klein Oak goes up and hauls it in, tap it, young man. Great catch to trim the lead. Port Neches Groves still comfortably in front, but a great grab there from Klein Oak to close this gap to 25-13 extra point pending. This is a 5A Division 2 against a 6A in Klein Oak. Impressive for Port Neches Groves, especially on the road at in Klein. But this is a Klein Oak team not going away quietly. We have high expectations for Port Neches Groves, but a good start for the Indians as they start the year number 1 in 5A Division 2.
Well, and that's a Klein Oak team, too, that's really trying to get a handle on that district. Klein is always a very interesting district. You kind of have your perennial powerhouses. Then Klein Kane came in and really laid the foundation. But Klein Oak is one of those teams that has been on the come-up in the past couple of years. And this, even keeping it close against the defending state champions, could be a really upside for the Panthers there.
How about this one? Continuing the dominance from Summer Creek, 28-0.
The nothing is the thing here. The zero, because by the way, they've scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
Right.
the defense has been suffocating from Summer Creek, and especially without Xavier Atkins, their outstanding linebacker, who's now off to LSU. To do this is against a highly explosive Shadow Creek team is very, very impressive.
And by the way, we have to remind people how last year ended for Summer Creek, right? That was an embarrassing loss. Probably if you're part of that Summer Creek team. You have to, if you were on that team, you played a part. It was 74-14, right? The loss to DeSoto. You have to have that in the back of your mind and be like, man, we made it all this way, blah, blah, blah. To shake that off and be like, we're coming out, we're punching this team in the face, right? Kenny Harrison has to be like, guys, last year is last year. We cannot have that in the back of our heads. We have to come out, new year, new players who saw that, make sure that doesn't happen again.
Not to mention that obviously last year was such an incredible success, but the last taste of football they have in their mouth was that romping that DeSoto gave them in the very last game of the season.
Washes it out? This.
Absolutely, it does. A great way to start off here.
And by the way, it's the first game for Tyrone Green, the new coach there at Shadow Creek. Remember, he took over from Brad Butler, who retired in the offseason. But for Summer Creek, everything's coming up roses for the Bulldogs.
So as it looks like Summer Creek and Shadow Creek are going to take a timeout, we would like to welcome in a special guest that we were able to talk to earlier this off season. So tomorrow there's a big time DFW matchup happening live on Dave Campbell's Texan Live between the North Crowley Panthers and the Lancaster Tigers. We'll have Matt Stepp, Greg Powers, and James Tritley on the call. It should be very fun, but a superstar in that matchup, that would be head coach of North Crowley, Ray Gates, in his first ever head coaching job and the immediate impact that he has made since taking over that program. He sat down with our very own Aaron Hardigan. Here is North Crowley head coach Ray Gates.
You have blazed out the gate at North Crowley, 26-2. They're your first two seasons. Before we, it's hard to believe you're entering. It actually it's funny because I was thinking he's entering his third season. Why does it feel like he began yesterday, but also like he's been there forever? Because it looks like you've been there forever. Do you feel the same way?
I do, and a lot of times when you're going through the journey, you don't really get a chance to look back and, just this summer having an opportunity to reflect back upon what we've built in 2 years. It seems like it was forever ago, but man, we're energetic. Our staff is energetic. Our kids are energetic. It is as if we were there, just yesterday as our first day. And that's what we approach it with. One of the biggest things for us is the way that we approach every single day. Our passion, our juice, as we call it, and our kids, they feed off of that. And so a lot of our success, for me, is really faith-based. And I know our success is what it is because that's where God has me.
I love that, and we'll get to the irony of the fact that you and Carlos Lynn are now building Crowley ISD, considering he was the one that hired you on at Cedar Hill. So it's funny because he headed there the year after you had taken the North Crowley job. So it was ironic that here he kind of followed your lead over to Crowley ISD, and here you two are like together now building this school district. What sort of conversations have you had about that?
So a little history on that. And this speaks to who Carlos Lynn is. His last year at Cedar Hill was a rough one by his standards and by Cedar Hill standards. And I remember him going through that season, not having the season, that he definitely wanted to. But every week, my first year at North Crowley, having success, he would always call. He would always speak positive and encouragement, into us and what we were doing. And it was as if, he was there with me at North Crowley. A lot of things that I say, a lot of things that I do, they are shades of Carlos Lynn and what I've learned from him. And so, it's amazing that I had the opportunity to do for him what he has done for me. And so when it was, our job was open there at Crowley, crosstown rival. I just basically told him, like, if y'all don't hire anybody else, but Carlos Lynn, if you don't hire Carlos Lynn, whoever else you put in there, it's gonna be gloves off when we face them every single time. I'm just letting you know. And our mantra is Crowley Pride Unified, and Coach Lynn being at Crowley, for me, definitely has unified us. It's a rivalry when we play each other. He wants to beat me just like I want to beat him. But at the end of it all, we can get a chance to walk across that field, and as someone that's important to me, I get an opportunity to wrap my arms around him and tell him how much I appreciate him. It doesn't matter what the scoreboard says, it's bigger than that for me in that game.
You have a lot to be proud of, considering last year, again, as you mentioned, as I mentioned, you went 14-1 into a state semifinal. With that experience now under your belt, knowing what you know now, what's it going to take to get past that hump and get to AT&T Stadium in late December?
When you're close, it doesn't take a lot, you know. And we always do a lot of soul searching. Hindsight is always 20/20, you know. But failure isn't failure if you've learned from it. And we always take that approach. We lost to Duncanville, and, you know, we didn't lose, you know, in a close game. We didn't play very well as a team, and we got behind. And there are a lot of things that I could have done better in that game. And I've had an opportunity to play Duncanville coming from Cedar Hill. That was the first time that our kids had been in a game of that magnitude, playing against a force like Duncanville, and what Coach Samples has done there has been unmatched and unparalleled. He's another guy that's up there on that Mount Rushmore for me personally, especially as a black head coach in the state of Texas. But we took a lot from that game, and I think what was most important is that our kids had an opportunity to be thrown in the fire. And I asked a lot of those kids that were coming back after that game what it was like being in that game, and it was nothing that they had ever experienced before as far as the talent that was on the field. So that has been burning, you know, with this group, you know, since we walked off that field. And again, I think it's going to put us in a position, hopefully, to get an opportunity to run that back, you know, round 5, if we can take care of our business and be who I know we can be.
All right, welcome back in. Look, Ray Gates is one of our favorite guys. Right? Anytime we get the chance to sit down with him and honestly hear just whatever, right? We were there during his breakout year, when his first year at North Crowley, and seeing where the program's gone has just only increased our love for him, and hope that program continues to be on the rise for the next couple of years.
What he has done there has been incredible. The athletes that are coming through North Crowley right now are just exceptional, but that's not the part that ever surprises me. What surprises me is how he is able to get so many superstars to work together with cohesion and efficiency and all of those different things that we just don't talk about. They do the small things right. They do the big splash plays right. He has done such an incredible job, and it's really cool too, taking it back a little bit. I loved when Aaron asked him about having his former mentor, Carlos Lynn. Once a mentor, always a mentor, let's be honest. Yeah. But his mentor, Carlos Lynn, now at his rival high school. And he goes, I told them, you gotta hire them. Yeah. This guy knows ball. And I just think that shows so much about Texas high school football and the community that these coaches build. We talk about coaching trees all the time. That is a really special one that they have brewing there in Crowley, and we are excited to see what both of those programs do heading forward. We finally did it. We got Greg Tepper out of this studio.
I was going to mention, it's like, you probably should mention how there's one less person here now.
You know what? It should have been, we're creating bits on air. We should have just not said anything at all. And it's just like, oh, he's gone. But I had enough of him. Yeah, I couldn't take it anymore. Welcome back into Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. We are excited to have you. We'll go up until the top of the hour, and there is so many games happening right now. Action all across the field. Let's do it. Where are we heading?
All right, quad box, baby.
Quad box time.
We know what you come here for, as we see on the
more
bottom.
Flags.
Yeah,
that's what you've been here for.
I was just about to talk about Cedar Hill Midlothian, and then I saw the yellow flag. I was like, all right, cool, we're back.
So up here in your top left corner, P&G Klein Oak, a big one down there. Klein Oak with an incredible catch not too long ago to get them back up within 2 scores as we take a look down into that one. But Port Neches Grove's head coach Jeff Joseph obviously crowning our Dave Campbell's Texas Football 65th edition of the magazine. A miraculous story there with obviously being the only active father-son head coaching duo to win a state championship. His father, Gary Joseph, the aforementioned man with the same face at all point in time. But Jeff Joseph gave what P&G and that town has always wanted, was a championship.
I mean, that is a program that has been starved, right? Even going back to the Roshan Johnson days, it's always been a frenzied fan base, right? And we saw the year before when they played Sock, the environment that they brought, obviously they lost that first matchup, but just seeing the hunger that was there for them to, again, listen, as we go to Shadow Creek, Summer Creek here, last words on PNG, it's not easy that you go to state back-to-back years and have a better, if not bigger crowd the next year. That PNG was just like, let's get it done. Like, they're going to show up again just last year.
It was so loud in that stadium.
Those two fan bases in particular, but PNG for that game.
AT&T Stadium gets full all throughout state championships, and I mean from even like especially the 6A games when you end it all. I had never seen a crowd that large at a 5A game. It was truly incredible, and two other very dominant teams down there in the Houston area. We've talked about them all night, but talk about bringing a crowd too. Summer Creek and that entire Humble ISD, so excited to have someone in the state championship game. They were all District 21. They flipped, now all District 23, and it was crazy that Humble Summer Creek got there before a team like Atascocita did.
Right. We were kind of waiting. It was like, oh, it's going to be that team, right? It's going to be Atascocita that kind of makes its way. And Summer Creek's like, Lloyd Avant was like, I got something. I got something for y'all. And he was one of the best players in the playoffs, I think, in the entire state. As we mentioned, of course, Xavier Atkins leading that defense and that offensive line. When it came down to them versus Cibolo Steel in the semifinal, I was like, I mean, Summer Creek's offensive line and defensive line is going to be the difference because Lloyd Avant is going to have holes to go through. Sure enough, ended up being the difference. And of course, just seeing them come out after losing that senior class with a great start like this against a Shadow Creek team that's kind of had their number, at least when they played in 2018, 2019. This is a huge credit to Kenny Harrison.
It has been. So a 6A matchup here, but how about we talk a little bit of 4A action? Games happening in Class 4A all across the state as we pull up some of the scores in 4A Division 2. Gilmer up on Longview Pine Tree by only a handful of points. That's kind of interesting there. Sitting, man, you want a team to keep an eye out for. First off, if we all talked as highly of Sitton as Michael Troutman does, you want to talk. We talked about Russell Maben being an excited person. Michael Troutman will make you want to run through a brick wall, and clearly they are doing that against a very good Beeville Jones squad. Wimberley, the 5th-ranked team, the Texans laying the hammer down on the Eagles of Canyon Lake. And the swole Bumblebees not looking so swole.
Yeah. First of all, great showing from Waco County, like you mentioned, against Little River Academy. But how about that Glen Rose game again? They're extending that lead. Of course, that is, like Tepper mentioned earlier, that is a classification up for Grandview, but this is still a Glen Rose team that's always been kind of hovering around the state contender scene. Is this the year that they finally get over the hump? Regardless, this is one of the best teams in 3A in Grandview the past 10 years or so, probably the past 5-6 years or so, that they're doing this too.
Era.
Yeah, exactly. Basically just whenever
From the Dane Yench era basically on.
But yeah, like Glen Rose, for them to be doing this in their first game against Grandview, like, okay, let's pay attention to them a little bit more.
Very much. Let's head on over into 4A Division 1. We look at the next class higher. A defensive battle there from the number 1 team in the state, the Stephenville Yellow Jackets, taking on the Jaguars of Midlothian Heritage. Oh my goodness, would you look at that? Brock has a lead in a first game of the season. For those of you who haven't heard my rant about Brock, we always rank Brock very high to start the year.
Yes.
Okay? Then Brock schedules a gruesome first 4 games of the season. They lose basically all of them, and then we get annihilated by comments going, how in the world do you have an 0-4 team ranked? Brock, don't do it to me this year.
Yeah, they play 4A D1 teams as they're right now. They're not a 4A D1 team, but they're on the 4A D1 score update because they're playing Decatur, right? That's what they do. They just play these teams that are way, not out of their league, but like way above the competition in their district. So they get ready for district, and then they just roll through their district, and then they're ready for the playoffs. By the way, look at that Salina-Belleville game. I know this is a big year for Salina, right? This is a massive year. We're expecting a lot of really good things from them. And Belleville is a team that played in the state championship last year. And so, I mean, for them to be in a slugfest right now, Kilgore and Carthage, another slugfest as well. I mean, this is going to be a fun night for 4A D1 from what it looks like.
Absolutely. I was just enamored by the Salina-Belleville game from the sole fact that you want to talk about a stylistic clash there. I mean, the way that Belleville down south hard-hitting guys that are going to come in with massive DJ Sanders and try to just rock fight you the entire night. Salina's trying to get you in the air half the time. Just a great running game there from Salina too, but some very interesting scores there. All right, that's our catch-up on 4A Division I. As we head back out to some action from across the state, let's check out any of our games here at Dave Campbell's Texan Live, and the lucky winner on the draw. Oof. My goodness, a 50 burger on a team that is a classification higher than you and a very relevant team.
50 burger for Columbus, one of the teams that we thought would be one of the state contenders. Obviously, I believe they're ranked second, I think, in their classification and division. I mean, they're every part of as good as we thought they would be against a Cuero team. Again, this is a Cuero team that's just ranked outside the top 10. This isn't a quote-unquote unranked, right? Yes, they are unranked outside of the top 10, but they are like in that 11, 12, 13 range, and Columbus is doing this to them. As we see right here, look at this little juke. Oh, my goodness, into the end zone. Oh, my goodness. Was that who I think it is?
I think it might be.
That is Grace. That is the man, Grayson Rigdon. Oh, my goodness, on the 10-yard out. Oh boy, I mean, the onslaught is on right now for Columbus. We wanted this game because we were very curious about how this team would look. Not only Columbus, but Cuero, right? Ficach's second year. What happens here, right? Like, what happens between these two teams? There's a lot of questions to be asked about both. And Columbus right now answering every single question I have.
This is a master class from Columbus, and again, the man that's helping to do it all, Grayson Rigdon, as we take a look at some of the accolades that this guy has had. 3-time state champion. May that be at 2 different schools. First year at Strawn his freshman year, second year and third year, both at Benjamin, a 3-time six-man player of the year. 4-time state champion MVP, 45-0 in his high school career, and 86 offensive touchdowns. And I know that 45-0 mark is a big sticking point for Grayson Rigdon, 100%. Which is why we didn't know if he would ever end up at another school. Obviously, his father then getting hired at Columbus led him to the point that he's in now, but there is little to no doubt that he is the greatest six-man player of all time. If he can go out there and do what he's doing tonight and finish a season with an undefeated Columbus team, it is solidified in my brain.
There's 2 things I want to hint on here. One, you may be looking at 4-time and say, well, how's he 4-time? He won offensive and defensive 1 year. Secondly, he's also proving a lot to the six-man community that, yes, if you are a good player in six-man, it's not too far of a level to play at a high level in 11-man. He's proving that one of the elite athletes can just be an elite athlete in any classification at any level.
100%. Well, we have some more highlights coming in from across the state. One of the 4A matchups that we just looked at, and this one is a tasty one. Let's head out to Beast, Texas for Carthage and Kilgore. This one that we had been looking forward to for a long time. This is Kilgore running back Isaiah Walters. He's going to snatch that thing, punch it in for 6. First score of the game. Then we will go over, and Kilgore will put the kick up. Will it be good? No, it will not. Kilgore still up on top, but not able to punch that one through. Screen throw here as he weaves his way through traffic. That's Ajon Alexander almost being able to have a break out there, but Javion Towns, don't you worry. This is a name to know, folks. Bust through the line of scrimmage all the way down for another touchdown. So a very interesting matchup going on out there in East Texas. These are 2 teams-ish that won. Carthage, revenge tour.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we said. They lost on the last second in the playoffs to Gilmer last year, and that is something that they definitely do not like to do. Yeah. Scott Surratt is going to have this team buckled up. Jet Surratt, his son at quarterback, a fantastic arm there in the backfield. They're going to remember that one.
Yeah, anytime a Carthage/Scott Surratt season doesn't end in AT&T with them lifted, you're worried about
Mom, come pick me up. I'm scared.
Every other team is worried about that next year. But now you mentioned Jet Surratt. We were wondering last year, okay, how good is he exactly, right? I mean, obviously he showed flashes. He's really good, really talented. but it was still his first year starting varsity, right? And so this year, he's the veteran now. You can tell his dad, incredible offensive play caller, trusts him undoubtedly even more now that he got that.
He's been reading plays since he was in diapers.
I was about to say, this kid's probably known more football than I will ever know, dream to know. So, like, this is going to be a very interesting team. Is it a different team as well now that they have a quarterback who can air it out a little bit? Maybe do they not rely on the running game as much as they may have in the past? I don't know.
And let me tell you, don't sleep on Kilgore. That's a team
Yeah.
we watched play Chapel Hill last year in the playoffs. Very, very talented squad, looking to repeat that. But I think we've got some H-Town action happening in the greater Houston area as we go back to Summer Creek and Shadow Creek, the Battle of the SCs. That is the official title.
I was about to say, is that
presented by Ashley Pickle.
Are we coining that right now?
It is the year of special teams, and it is the Battle of the SC, okay? Summer Creek with the ball here.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this. They're about to drive in again, potentially go up 34, 35, nothing. Which, again, I think Tepper mentioned it. The nothing is what's the most shocking thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you were to tell me, here he goes, and I mean, just wide open. That front is just annihilating.
That is sophomore running back Braylon Cossey, who's making, taking over for that Lloyd Avant. Not an easy role to fill, by the way.
No.
Lloyd Avant playing D1 ball right now, FBS ball, and Braylon Cossey is one of those guys who they're having to say, hey, next one up. Who are you were playing JV last year? Come on, kid. We need somebody to step up into this role. And as you saw there, when you have lanes like that to run through, hey, it's not that hard.
I also think that says a lot about Lloyd Avant as a leader.
Yeah.
Because I remember last year talking to Coach Harrison prior to the start of the state championship game, and he said, he was like, Pickle, he's a great leader. We're not gonna be in any sort of a bad shape, because he sat there and he's taken these kids under their wings and he showed them the path to success. When you get to see that, take that in every single week with a superstar like that, it does wonders.
Yeah, as we cut here to Katie Dickinson, and this one's staying close. I mean, look, Katie was in some close games last year with, I believe, Katie Jordan. I think Atascocita was close with them last year. So, like, it's not unusual to see some early rough patches for Katie, but Dickinson, give them some credit here. Number 21 in the state, as we see. Oh
my goodness, off the dome!
Oh, well, that'll help.
Holy cow!
What a way for Dickinson to take the lead.
And this is something, as Tepper was saying earlier, I mentioned it, uncharacteristics mistakes on special teams by Katie is something that we do not see, but this is a young Katie team.
Yeah.
This is a young group of Tigers, and I can guarantee you that they're spending the last hour of practice from here on out going over special teams.
Look,
plays.
year of special teams. I'm ringing the bell now. It's the year of special teams.
Absolutely been ringing. Another one here in the greater Houston area. How about that? Crosby and Dayton. By the way, that game was not far off.
Yeah.
You got to think about that. Coach Joe Willis at Crosby after his first year struggled very, very much.
Yeah.
Looking like they were bouncing back a little bit there. Cuero, can we finally hear some noise here?
Let's see if we. Ooh, almost a pick, which
it was noise,
not
the noise
would
they
have
wanted.
been an emphatic no. You are not hearing noise.
The noise has been turned down.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if Columbus is able to play this way on defense, right? Cuero playing up a classification, but hanging with them, keeping this offense physically in check. Watch out, because nobody's stopping this Columbus offense, right?
No.
I think that Hitchcock game is going to be absolute blockbuster, right? Like, it's going to be absolute Hollywood with Lloyd Jones on one side, Adam Schobel on the other. And if it's one of these defenses is going to have to make a play, one of those defenses is going to have to make a play. And so far right now, it's looking like I'm trusting them to be pretty damn good.
I love this Columbus schedule.
Yeah.
You've got Needville, you've got Belleville, Yoakum, Hitchcock, Hallettsville, Hempstead. That is an underratedly tough district, not to mention an underratedly tough, actually pretty highly rated region in the state. 3A Division I, you keep looking at what Region 3 has to bring, and that has consistently been that region of doom heading into the playoffs, Columbus being a big portion of that.
Yeah, as we see Cuero here just trying to get something going. And if you're Cuero, right, let's flip it to the other side. We talked a lot about Columbus. If you're Coach Feacock, second year, there was a lot of hype after last year. You did pretty well. How do you brush off this result? First of all, finish the game, obviously, but how do you brush off this result and kind of go into week 2?
I bet you that he would say, and there's a lot of coaches that say this, when you're a team that is consistently good and you go out and you get punched in the mouth for the first time early on in the season, a lot of coaches that have had nothing but success will tell you that's one of the best things that can happen to a program. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's true because they're so used to winning. They expect to win, and it kind of reminds you, hey, we're not invincible. And that can really turn on the Jets. I think that we've taken a lot out of that Cuero team right now. Let's see what they do in week 2, and then I'll have a lot more of a decision made. But a lot of times that can help.
Sure. No, I feel you. I feel you there. As we check in again with this Summer Creek game, I mean, just absolute physical domination in a way that, I'm going to be honest, I can't remember the last time Shadow Creek has been imposed on like this. Typically it was their first, I'm looking back to like their first
They're
year.
a 6-year program. I don't think they've ever dealt with this bad of a loss.
Yeah. This is impressive. And oh my goodness, what the move there. And it's just, I mean, they're kind of, the funny part is this is like Summer Creek kind of taking their foot off the gas, because like that was Eugene Burnett, by the way, on the carry. This is them taking the foot off the gas because they're running the ball, but like they're just plowing through lanes. So
we just happen to be gargantuan humans, and we're just going to keep running through you. Why run at you when we can run through you? Bouncing back now to a clash between some Central Texas teams, Lake Belton and A&M Consolidated. This one much closer. A lower scoring game than what I had anticipated from these two teams.
Yeah. How much of that do you think is maybe Lake Belton still trying to figure out exactly what that offense is without Micah Hudson? Obviously, Mascarenas is a veteran quarterback, but identity-wise, maybe trying to figure some things out. Versus how much do you think is maybe Consolidated? Hey, maybe figuring out like, oh, that guy that we would have had to worry about last year is not there. Maybe we can match up hat for hat with a lot more of these guys.
I've been thoroughly impressed by A&M Consolidated this game. I think for me, it's more of a impressive streak from them than it is from Lake Belton. I think maybe I went into this game thinking that Lake Belton was going to go through those. So I think I decided early on in my brain that even if they lost this game, I wasn't going to be necessarily shocked, just with the, like you said, trying to put the puzzle pieces together. That's something that takes sometimes to happen when you've had a guy that you can do anything with. But I have been thoroughly impressed with A&M Consolidated. Knew they were going to be good. Didn't know that offensive line was going to look that beefy up front.
Of course, Brandon Schmidt's second season after taking over for Fedora.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, a guy who knows how to coach offensive line. He was the Prosper head coach before then. I've heard that they've got some big boys up in Prosper.
Pretty good. I'm hearing that we have some action with Katie and Dickinson, if we can get over to that game.
It's not the flag? I thought the flag was the action.
The flag was the action, according to the rest of the night. Oh, Dickinson. Oh my goodness.
How about that?
Did they call back the other play? I wonder if they called back what I thought was the dink off the helmet. Regardless, Dickinson scores now, so they have the lead now. Unless we just saw the scores change. But regardless, Dickinson's taking it to Katie. That's basically the summary I'm trying to get from this game. Like,
it was a roundabout path to get there, but inevitably we ended up making it.
Look, what a win this will be for Dickinson. Like you mentioned with Coach Snelson, like one of the best in the state, getting a marquee win like this, but also don't want to rule out. I remember plenty times last year, me and Nick were like, oh, is this the game Katie loses? This game Katie loses. And it was like, maybe until the clock hit 0 and Katie had the higher number in this win column, in the scores column. So, again, the Gators, they're putting on a show. They are the number 21 ranked team in 6A versus the number 11. But don't count out this team just yet as we go back to Columbus and Cuero. Cuero just trying to inch in on the 10-yard line. Feels like they've been here for like 30 minutes, it feels like.
It really has. You're inching away inch by inch, but can they get it done? Yes, sir, they can.
No! It's a pick!
Oh my goodness! The tie, had he held on to that ball, would have gone to the offense, but the tenacity to rip that ball out of his hands, what an outstanding defensive play there.
That is insane. Again, look, if their defense is this good, watch out. Like, legitimately, watch out. This is going to be something insane to see. That was Brendan Hicks, I believe, on the pick for Columbus. Oh my goodness.
The pure, he got that dog in him, man. To rip that ball out on the defense is just crazy. As Alito trying to do something, what a catch there. Breaks the ankle tackle.
Oh my gosh.
All the way across the field. This is going to be 60 plus yards after breaking the ankle tackle. Can he make it all the way? Yes, sir, he can.
Wow, 72 yards. By the way, that was the first play in the third quarter. So they're just back from halftime. And
What
oh my
up?
goodness.
What's good?
Yeah.
We're Alito. Welcome to our party.
Yeah, you were worried about what? Playmakers? We have those.
He said, I heard those people just down the street in the UNT studios were talking mess. Let's shut them up.
I was about to say, they heard us because they're right down the road at C.H. Collins.
What a master class there by Alito. I
believe that was Caden Finley, wide receiver.
He has just been so good, man.
He's going to be one of their big players this year. Him along with Racing Gilroy are going to be those big players that's going to carry this Alito team into December, hopefully playing for another state title.
They have been great. They will continue to be great, and we're excited to check back in with that. But before we go there, let's go back 5A Division II scores from across the state. Let's check out what's happening in our big school classifications. We saw that one earlier. Port Neches Grove's looking like they're starting to break that gap a little bit more over Klein Oak. Gregory Portland and Corpus Christi Cal Allen for the first time in over 45 years that there has not been Phil Danaher and or his defensive coordinator Steve Campbell at the helm. A brand new head coach there coming out of the gates against a good Gregory Portland squad. That is a fantastic Coastal Bend matchup there.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's two of the best teams you're going to get down there. How about Richmond Randall, a team that this is going to be a breakout year for Richmond Randall. Of course, as you're seeing, ranked number 7. But this is the team that I don't want to say snuck up on people, but kind of broke out last year. This is the year where we see what this program is about, taking care of Richmond Foster, Alamo Heights, and Michael Terry, of course, taking care of business there over Seguin. And Red Oak, again, Red Oak is a team that's pretty salty. That I feel like it's kind of been lost in the fade a little bit in that South DFW area.
Absolutely. Classification higher there than Colleyville Heritage, but still to come out like that against a 6th ranked team in 5A Division II, definitely saying something. A lot of star power in that game as well on the kind of the outskirts of the DFW. So there is 5A Division II. Let's head on up. 5A Division I, the classification higher here. How about that defensive battle going out in Beast Texas? Longview Lufkin. This is one that everyone has circled on their calendar every single year, and Longview has had their number. But if there's any time to do it, 7-0's a good time to get started.
I was about to say, Lufkin, that's a game that's gone Longview's way the past couple years, but Lufkin is a team that, if they, like you mentioned, if they want to get, let's get in the slugfest and let's see who comes out on top. How about Argyle Frisco Lone Star as well? One touchdown game. Argyle, this is a big year for Argyle. That offensive line is very, very skilled, very, very talented, and they're hanging right there with Frisco Lone Stars, who's in for a big year as well.
Yeah, classification lower there, so Argyle punching up, but very excited to see what they end up doing. Denton Ryan having their way with Hazlitt Eaton. College Station having their way with Klein Collins. Interested in Richland Haltom only being at 10-3 is very surprising. Richland is a team that we have very high hopes for, thinking they can make it pretty far there in the playoffs. But Haltom, a team that has historically been down the past couple of years, making a little bit of noise there.
And then Abilene San Angelo, Abilene punching up to 6A, of course. I won't say taking care of business, but really putting up a great fight. Of course, the top 10 ranked team in 5A D1, Abilene is. But San Angelo Central punching into that 6A area, and if they can come out with a win, good little notch for the Eagles there.
Absolutely. So there are our scores in 5A Division I. We want to remind you we got about 30 minutes left of the party here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight, but the games do not stop even after we're off of air. So go check out TexanLive.com/subscribe. Access to over 1,900 games throughout the year of every sport. So if you like football, stay with us here. It's better to subscribe now because you get the full season's worth. But let's head back out to some of those games that we're talking about. Those will be happening all the rest of the night. But where shall we go next? Let's all find out together. On to Alito and Denton Guyer we go. There's a lot of zebras on the field, and I'm not talking about Grandview. Oh, looking like the heat may be affecting some cramps, but we have some broadcasters out there at C.H. Collins. Let's go ahead and hear them on the call.
Taking advantage of his snaps. It's 3rd and 8. Could not be a bigger third down for the Broncos.
Salazar straight ahead toward the goal line and in. Touchdown Cardinals.
the ball on 3rd and long to Zion Dupree, who breaks the tackle, and he's going to pick up the first down. Oh, no, he didn't.
Martinez with the kick. It's good again. 65-17, the Columbus lead. Host Cuero.
All right, as we see here, I mean, all Columbus basically in that one. I mean, come on, that's just, as we talked about, that is just a complete dominating effort. And, I mean, nothing really more to say. So we're going to go to Katie Dickinson now, actually, as we transition here. I think there's some big action going on here. This is an incredible game going on, honestly. Dickinson 30-27 over Katie. This is a top 25 matchup in Class 6A. Probably, in my opinion, probably the best 6A versus 6A matchup, I believe, in the state right now.
Oh, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. Not to mention that, a great uniform matchup going on here as
100%.
well.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you want to welcome back in Texas. How about the colors of the great state of Texas flag?
Yeah.
We got that all over the field. But no, this is, there are so many games, and it's funny, in the first couple of weeks that I look so forward to because they definitely matter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go towards your district.
Right.
And you get to schedule whoever you want. You get kind of these cross-town rivalries going on. And like, for instance, we talked a lot about Arlington Martin and Lake Travis earlier. That's kind of a cross-regional matchup that has turned into they play each other in home and home every single year in week 1. You get to see those kind of rivalries get built across the state, and that makes our job so much more fun.
Oh, 100%, because you get to see those the matchups you only see usually in the playoffs, or sometimes not until state. As we see quad box now, Crosby-Dayton, one of the newer games up top on the left there. A&M Consolidated Lake Belton still hanging around, and then Aledo Denton-Guyer still around as well. That one's still kind of staying within, I believe, under 10 points, so looks like we'll pitch it to Aledo Denton-Guyer. So again, if you want to hear these games in full, we're going to give you a little taste of what the broadcast sounds like. And if you like it, subscribe, TexasFootball.com, Texan Live, whatever you want. We're going to shut up and we're going to let these guys take it over.
But they try and get some sort of screen going for number 7, but the wide receiver screen doesn't get a whole lot going. It looks like they get just about 3, maybe 4 on that play. So a 4th and 14, and no question about it, they are going to punt it away. Guyer trailing 30-23 here in this third quarter. About set to punt it away for the second time here in this second half. So whistles being blown on the field. Looks like we've got some sort of penalty. In fact, that punt didn't even make it to the return man, or the intended return man on the play. So false start called against the Wildcats, and I reckon that'll bring it back to right about where it was. Yes, in fact, a yard further away now. After that false start, make it 4th and 19. So couldn't imagine they were going to go for it on 4th and 14 like some sort of fake. But even if they wanted to, no way they do it here. And kick is away for the Wildcats, and a Bearcat comes down with it. And thanks to that false start penalty, he'll get about 5 yards better. So now, Bearcats going to get the ball back at about their 36, it looks like, or 37 and a half.
All right, so we're going to go with Katie and Dickinson back over here, and we feel like this one's going to get even better. Already a close game as we see Katie in the patented I formation up the middle, and oh my goodness, this one is just going to keep going back and forth into the night.
Katie in the I formation, water is still wet, the Pope is still Catholic. That is exactly what Gary Joseph does. That's exactly what the Katy Tigers do. They will hold you right there on the cusp of legendary success for beating Katy Tigers. And then they will just stick to what they know. They will follow the fundamentals, they will get in the I formation, and they will shove that ball right up the middle of the gut. And that is just classic Gary Joseph. It's how they finish out games so strong, and it's that we don't give up mentality.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like everybody's like, modernize your offense. He's like, why?
Why?
It works.
It works.
Nobody can stop my I formation. You know I'm going to run it. You know I'm going to play action after running it 20 times, and you're not going to stop it.
And you're still not going to stop it.
Yeah, as we switch back over to just down the road, C.H. Collins, Denton Geyer, and Alito, as we see good physical run there from Alito, just trying to drain more of this clock, still in the third quarter, but trying to make sure this Denton Geyer team does not get a rhythm on offense at all. Because right now, that's been the story for me, is Denton Geyer's offense kind of really struggling a little bit out of the gates. And so is up to, I mean, if you're Alito, you're kind of playing with house money right now. It's like, oh yeah, we can kind of keep the ball. We can kind of put some pressure. If we continue to grind the clock down and keep this possession, we just kind of keep this game in our control. As we see Alito here, just taking their time. Another handoff up the middle, and Geyer's defense playing the run very safely there, coming up with a good stop. I believe that was Racine Gilroy, excuse me, 4-star prospect, junior prospect who broke out last year as a sophomore.
You want to talk about an explosive guy.
Oh, yeah.
He is incredibly explosive and fun to watch. All right, I've been waiting for this moment. I want to talk about Crosby and Dayton.
All right.
Look at this game. I am fascinated,
yeah,
truly fascinated to see what Joe Willis is able to do with this Crosby program. You remember, this is a program that was back in a state championship in 2020?
2020, yeah, because that was the,
I believe, 2019.
I forgot who they played, but yes.
Yeah, Coach Pieto took them to the state championship, incredibly successful, a program that is very, very into football.
Yeah.
And they had such success so early on. Joe Willis is a guy, he's been around the block. There is no one that loves building a program more than Joe Willis. He is notorious for that. Always on the move. He will go to a program, try to build it up, and then on to the next one he goes. Early struggles last year with Crosby, but a guy who I really think can turn this back into the program that we once thought that it was.
Speaking of Jerry Prieto, on the other side, Coach Dayton.
At Dayton.
So this is actually a pretty interesting matchup because, of course, he's at Dayton in his, I believe, in his first year there, and taking over a squad that returns about 10 total starters. Okay, like against your old program, that's got to be a little bit awkward. It was like, all right, I was just coaching these guys just last year, and how much does he know about some of the players, right? Obviously, it's a new scheme, new system, but like, how much does he know about these players? Like, oh, I know so-and-so is, he's not as good when you make him cut to his left or something like, things like that. But it's just a little interesting chess match, but it's a cool little thing that they definitely set up in realignment where he was like, hey, you wanna play each other one time?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? As we go back to the quad box, Katie and Dickinson, again, look, I feel like the left side is going to be where our eyes are the rest of this night, because these two games look like they're going to come down to the wire, as we see Cuero crossing midfield on the bottom right there, trying to make something happen, trying to at least end on a high note. Obviously, that game is all Columbus.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And it looks like Katie actually has the ball back on the bottom left there.
They sure do.
Already, after Dickinson went up.
Doesn't take long, and there goes a big explosive run. That, my friends, is a Katie running back. If I have ever seen one.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that is impressive. That is Tremaine Hill Jr. Of course, he's a junior because they just pump him out. Like he's going to be there for a couple years. 5'10", 185. He's going to be one of the guys they rely all season long. As we switch over to Alito, Denton Geyer. Oh, just kidding. We're going to keep it here at Katie Dickinson. As Katie, again, just look at that, just calm, cool, and collective. They're down, right? They're just probably going to hand off with a dive, halfback dive.
I want to shout out the broadcasters
fullback
doing
dive.
this.
Oh my God. Sorry. I was like, oh, they switched it up. It was a fullback dive.
You know what? We deserve more fullbacks in Texas high school football.
Listen, we were once a great country when the fullback dive was this thing.
Next year can be the year of the fullbacks.
Yeah, you were going to say something about the Katie broadcasters real quick.
Yes, I want to give a big shout out to our broadcasters down there in Katy. Michael Silvers and Brent Hallmark have been bringing you Katy games on Texan Lives for 10 years now together. They've been in the business for a long time. Michael Silver's in his 24th year. But those two, the dynamic duo that call over our Katy games in their 10th year together, we were talking about that in our Texan Live kickoff, and I just thought that that was really cool. And they said there isn't anywhere else they would rather be than in that booth on Friday nights or Thursday nights or Saturday nights or whenever Katy's playing. So
that's awesome.
A big shout out to those guys down there for all the work that they've done to bring that to the Texan Live family. So appreciate that. And I know that in the start of their 10th year, they're looking to go 1-0.
There you go. I was going to say, if you want to hear people who know more about Katy than anybody, TexanLive.com, TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Watch this game in full. Listen to those guys because, like I said, even more than us, there's nobody in the state that knows more about Katy than those guys because they've followed it the past 10 years, 10 plus years, I should say. So as we see the quad box here, Crosby and Dayton taking a little bit of a break, but obviously Katy on the play action, what'd I say? They're going to run the ball and they're going to roll out play action, wide open pass. I mean, this is just Gary Joseph. You think he's like has his heart rate gone up like above 60 yet?
No.
He's
absolutely
just like,
not. A big run coming back from Denton Geyer. Can they tie it up?
Oh my goodness, what a cut on that.
Extra point impending, but are we about to get a replay of you know what, go ahead and just throw up those 2023 highlights because I'm feeling like we might be ending the same way.
That was
here.
Peyton Jund, the senior wide receiver there, number 11 on the, excuse me, that was number 19, excuse me about that. That was Corbin Glasgow Jr. Oh my goodness, that is insane. I mean, these two teams just put on classics, basically. Whether it's star power or they're reloading, these two teams just put on classics.
Let's see if the Denton Geyer Wildcats can tie it up here in the third quarter.
Oh, it was a low snap. He had to bobble that a little bit, but he got it through.
And it looks to me like it's good. All right, we are all tied up at C.H. Collins, Denton Geyer, and Alito, a classic year after year. Let's go back to what is looking like it's fixing to be a classic as we start playing a little bit of ping pong here. Katy.
Hello.
Katy.
Woo. Tremaine Hill. Look, get to know his name because he's going to finish the year with like 1,000 yards rushing. That's just what Katy running backs do, right? They get the ball a ton. Junior, sophomore, senior, doesn't matter. Tremaine Hill is going to be a name to watch because Gary Joseph has now christened him as the bell cow.
when you have been knighted the bell cow of Katy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gunnar Nelson at quarterback. He, of course, is the pilot of all this, right? There's a reason why Katy is so dangerous. It's because when they don't hand the ball off, they have a quarterback typically who can first of all, sell the run with the play action and then read those short routes, sometimes those deep routes as well. It is a little weird seeing the Katy on the chest. Those are new uniforms because, as it looks like Nelson's a little limping there. They're going to take a timeout to give him a breather. Check on his quarterback. Looks like he's walking okay, just with a little bit of a limp. Just give him a breather there. As we see, go back to A&M Consolidated and Lake Belton. Lake Belton trying to still claw their way back into this one. 2-score game. Not insurmountable at this point at all. Mascarenas hits him as a man open. Oh, that's a dot.
And he delivers it in the breadbasket. My goodness, you want to talk about accuracy.
That is a dot right there. Mascarenas saying, hey, just because Micah Hudson's not here, I'm still here. We got some players still.
No kidding.
How about that?
That would have been exceptional. I mean, that looked like mid-season form there. You know what those guys were out doing this summer?
Yeah.
Tossing the old pigskin.
That was Zach Dodd, senior wide receiver, as they now close into a 1-score game with A&M Consolidated. But let's take a look at some 6A scores. I heard we got some 6A.
The big dogs.
The big dogs coming on as the Tiger Woods meme, of course, my favorite meme of the past
big
couple
dog.
years. As we see North Shore South Oak Cliff.
Oh my goodness.
38-0 as I'm wearing my Carter Kopecky shirt. Shout out South Oak Cliff. I mean, look, we talked about how Jason Todd schedules these games. He probably knew, like in the back of his mind, he's like, look, I'm not going there to slap North Shore around.
No.
I'm going there to get my guys bloodied and ready to go by the time district starts.
Because let's be honest, then they go through 10 weeks of not playing anyone up to their caliber. That is nothing to say anything bad about the rest of their district. It's just the gap is massive.
You
have to get punched in the face a couple of times. This one, still a little bit shocking.
But
with
credit
the
to Sock, be like, let's go play North Shore.
Absolutely.
Let's just go play North Shore.
Why not?
South Lake Carroll looking at midseason form against Midland. Let's look at that San Antonio game. Converse Judson, San Antonio Johnson. The interesting thing there, Ty Hawkins at IMG now, right? Their star quarterback, San Antonio Johnson, star quarterback. Does that create a little bit of a shift in, as we see at the bottom left?
Oh my goodness!
Sorry, Pickle jumped out. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I was
out.
so focused on the 0 next to South Oak Cliff. I didn't even look down at that. How
Cibolo
about the
Steele.
Knights of Cibolo Steele absolutely taking it to Liberty Hill right now? Again, different classifications, but my goodness, what an initial showing by the Knights.
I was about to say, look, we talk about different classifications. Liberty Hill has the great equalizer in the slot team, right? That thing doesn't matter what classification you are. That is hard to defend. So credit to Cibolo Steele, who I had questions about their defense, right? A lot of upfront players for them. They have the playmakers. They have the wide. They have Chad Warren quarterback. They have Royal Capel on the outside. But the defense, holding Liberty Hill to 14 points is insane.
When do they ever go up against another team that plays a slot team? You just don't. So to come out of the gate and
just brush this off 1 week and be like, cool, let's stop this and let's move on.
Yeah, and then let's move on. Wow, what a showing by Cibolo Steele. And then how about our friends down in the Rio Grande Valley? Edinburgh Vela, Edinburgh North in a close one. They're very excited to see how both of those teams shape up this year. I think North is going to be pretty good.
I think North's going to be pretty good as well. Of course, as we saw last year, Brownsville Vets made it all the way to the state semifinals. PSJ and North is a team that, of course, we're very excited about. Always loving to see the RGV, and we're glad to see, Vela and North both should be pretty good. Of course, Vela perennially one of the better teams down there in the RGV.
Our RGV Kings as we go to the double box.
Woo!
2 incredible games. This is the start of Texas high school football.
Oh, yeah.
A rematch for both of these games.
As we see Aledo taking over just past the 20. And Lake Belton, A&M Consolidated, holding on to that 1-score lead, and Lake Belton trying.
Here goes Aledo, ball up in the air.
Oh, did he get that? Yes, he did. That's a foot down.
Did.
Wow, Gavin Beard growing up right before our eyes, making some big boy throws already. As you see Consolidated try to get a throw on first down, looks like that was incomplete.
This is a big drive for Consolidated.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those that you want to go ahead, and I'm not going to say completely put the nail in the coffin, but this would be solidifying the fact that unless Belton was to score very quickly.
Yeah, as we see them trying to.
Because it's also a lot of subs coming in here.
It's also in that weird time of the game where it's like, how much are you draining the clock? How much are you trying to just obviously just run your offense, right? Yeah, like you're trying to figure out, obviously you don't want to give the ball back immediately, but also you got to run your offense.
They've got trips out wide with a substitute down here, so keep an eye on that.
Screen setup.
There you go.
Oh, I thought he dropped it for a second, but good sniff out by the Lake Belton defense.
That was very impressive, especially with the amount of substitutions that they just made to do trips on the strong side over there.
I was about to say, you mentioned trips on the bottom. That's a good decoy because then they go weak side. With the screen, yeah, that's a perfect read from Lake Belton to stay disciplined in the box there. Make sure that wasn't set up. As we see Aledo, trying to get something going.
Look at the. Oh, they say ball's out. Geyer's pointing. Is it?
Did we get it? I didn't see a ref signal. I don't see a ref signal. I see players getting off the field. No, I think they're keeping. Oh, looks like the ref's talking at the bottom.
I think the line judge over there might have pointed. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a meeting here. Take this one full screen.
Just trying to see something.
Confused zebras?
Yeah. Geyer's not moving, so I feel like they'd be more confident if they got it. Geyer defense still out there, looks like.
White hat trying to, our buddy Bill Theodore over there trying to get the word on it.
Yeah, personal. Illegal hands to the face, looks like. Yeah.
I don't think that is Bill, but another buddy of ours at Tasso.
All right, so we're going to switch over.
A big potential break there.
Yeah, huge break. As we break into another massive game, we got 3 potential bangers to end the night here. As Katie, this is pure Katie football right here. Beef on beef.
Do the thing.
Let's go.
They did the thing.
Beef on beef, baby. We got Tremaine Hill punching it in for Katie, and Gary Joseph's smile gets a centimeter wider as Katie takes the lead.
It quivered slightly.
Yeah. It's a little bit like good job, son, with a straight face. Yeah, man. Look, this one, and then Dickinson's going to get the ball back, and as we see based on the score, this one's not over, right, is what we're trying to say.
No, not at all.
My goodness.
What a great start to the Texas high school football season we have here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football. The ball is out at Aledo.
Ooh, buddy. Oh, my goodness. That was very, very close. That was Ben McElry, I believe that was, who nearly fumbled. Gavin Beard on the recovery heads-up play.
You know head coach Robbie Jones is over there screaming his head off after 2 very close calls by the Bearcats.
As soon as he regains his heartbeat.
as soon as there's sign of life.
Yeah.
Like Belton, another ball out.
Is that going in the end zone? I think that might have gone in the end zone.
I believe so.
I think they're saying, Consolidated just scored.
That should be a score right
there.
If
Oh my goodness!
Rolled into the back of the end zone and recovered, should be a score for A&M Consolidated. And by the amount of joy on that sideline, how about that?
That is crazy.
In what we said could have been an easy answer for Lake Belton to stay in this game.
Yeah.
Very much will add 6 more points with the impending 7th on the way.
Oh my goodness. If you're Lake Belton, you're probably like, there probably was like a bunch of missed recovery opportunities there. You're
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh. And of course, it rolls into the end zone of all places. It wasn't just a recovery. It ends up being a score as they retake a double-digit lead, Consolidated does. As we switch back to Aledo and Denton Geyer.
Snip, snap, snip,
Racing
snap.
Gilroy, and look at this defense from Geyer, keeping the 4-star in check.
3 of them just swarming off the edge. What an incredible job there by the corner.
Credit to Robbie Jones saying, you know what, we're just going to try to out-physical them. And credit to Geyer for saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. We know how Aledo plays. Yeah, we know how Aledo plays. They're going to try to use their big offensive line to control the clock. And no, we're going to match up hat for hat as they now bring up 4th down. And looks like they're going to call a timeout here.
Trying to regroup.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kick this, right? It's going to be 4th and long. It's going to be... Looks like we're going to go to a new game. Hebron and Jesuit. How about this one?
How about that? Look at that score for Hebron up there.
Let's
the
go.
Hawks looking to really get oh, here we go. We're holding up the force. Oh, no, it's done.
Is that over? Oh, that might have been over. I don't know if that was over. Regardless.
I don't know.
Shocking score. As we see Geyer. Look at this. We are whipping it around now. Look how quick that was. Dickinson already, I believe, in Katy territory now.
In the very own words of Carter Yates, it's time to strap in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. This is the kind of content you can only find here on TexanLive.com. You can watch it on our YouTube page, Facebook page, Twitter.
Yeah.
Catch us everywhere. We'll be here for free every single Friday night, bringing you this kind of content, the best high school football games across this state, and this is what you want. We are we have never been more back.
We have never been more back.
We are so back.
Quarterback power from Dickinson.
Oh my goodness.
Right,
that was a grown man.
We're getting physical now. Big 97. Let me give a shout out to him. I'm looking at the roster real quick. I need to shout out to Adam Carter.
Adam Carter, our defensive player of the night.
6'2", 280 senior defensive lineman from Katy. Look at that. It just looks like a Katy defensive lineman.
That is the definition of big dog.
Yeah. Just slinging bodies to the ground.
My goodness gracious.
It's going to be beef on beef to end the night here in Katy and Dickinson.
Big, beefy men.
Oh!
All right, up.
Ooh.
Oh!
Whew, that's good coverage there.
Very, very good coverage. There is craziness going on over here in Denton, Geyer, and Aledo. What it is, I don't know, but it looks crazy. Might have been a recovery by Geyer?
I think it might have been, yeah. I think so. There's some type of hype. Reedheim's sideline is hype for what it is. Looks like it might have been a turnover.
What a game-changing moment that would be.
What's up with these two programs in classics? Play every year.
We are well into Aledo territory at that point, right on the cusp of being able to score. It looks like they're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Robbie Jones definitely not happy with whatever that call was.
Oh, is it the hands on the hips that gives it away? Just
it
pensively looking at the officials.
Power stance.
Looks like there is a flag. So whatever it is, yeah, I don't think it's
very important call here.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Aledo. Yeah, he's definitely not happy about that one. He wants his team. Looks like offsetting. Yeah, offsetting penalties.
All right.
Is that going to be a replay of the down?
They cancel out.
I think that's going to be an offsetting penalty. I think they're going to replay the down. Unless it was after the play.
That is very true.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, it looks like the unit's still staying out there.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see. Looks like the ball's going to, back
Seems
at
like the right call there in a very crucial moment of the games, especially when you start getting into unsportsmanlike conduct. That gets very dicey. There's a lot of temperament that goes into that.
Sure.
So the offsetting penalties there seems like a good call.
Yeah, it's like, hey, everybody cool down.
Yep.
Everybody calm down. We don't want to kick anybody out.
Here.
We don't want to do anything dumb.
This late in the fourth quarter, too, very dicey. Let them, if you've been letting them play all game, let's let them play. If you've been calling it close, keep it close. But Geyer with the ball now.
Looks like Kevin Sperry back at quarterback. Of course, it's been Zephyr Kriye, I believe is the sophomore quarterback's name, also getting snaps in there for Geyer. As we see, oh my goodness, hello. Corbin Glasgow reversing field.
Holy cow, we're running horizontally, folks.
Yeah, I was about to say,
it's
that's
that
not
time
easy.
of night.
That's not easy to do against Alito.
No.
Running cross field and getting to the other sideline.
I was fixing to say for a gain of a first down.
Yeah. All right,
we see you. Okay.
Both these teams are like, what are you talking about missing playmakers? We got playmakers here.
Exactly. So much playmaking happening. We got a shoulder pad out on our boy. He switched directions so hard that thing just popped right on out.
I see Kevin Sperry over there.
Oh, good hands.
Oh, almost got to the sideline.
He was
Mason
one
White.
step away from taking that to the house because the other safety had already taken a dive down in. He had followed his man.
Shoestring tackle from Adrian Fuller. So let's go to the audio, the broadcaster audio, so we can see this classic unfold in real time.
They're able to get that touchdown and string together a couple of impressive drives, but only one of them, as I just mentioned, ends in scoring. So now Geyer with a huge opportunity to potentially take the lead if they can score here on this drive. Both teams tied at 30. Following that play, a gain of 7 for Geyer. Make it 2nd and 3. And any coach will tell you, 2nd and short or very short, the whole playbook is open. Instead of trying to catch the defense slipping for Alito, they opt instead for the handoff, and he gets 2 yards of the 3 needed for the first down. So make it 3rd and very short. 1 yard to gain for the Wildcats if they can't get another first down. So with both these teams certainly thinking with every rush each team takes, that is better part of 30 seconds off the clock. And Bearcats trying to get a stop, but they do not. Instead, it's a 10-yard gain. Or make it 12 yards on that one. Wow. So even though Alito, as I mentioned, really took some strong control of that third quarter, the Wildcats of Denton Geyer starting to really make a name for themselves on offense. So they hand it off, and looks like fullback on that one just falls forward for a gain of 1. 2nd and 9 now. Second and 9 for Denton Geyer. 9.5 to go here in this game. And he's looking for a man deep. However, he throws it straight to a defender. I mean, the intended wideout was a good yard, if not 2 away from the ball. And it kind of looked like he meant to throw it to that defender because that wide receiver on that play was draped by 2 defenders. And these 2 teams trade interceptions. So now Alito will have it backed up deep in their own territory at their own 2-yard line when we come back right after this.
Since 2006, will walk away from Vitanza Stadium with a 41-37 victory over the homestanding Dickinson Gators, who gave it everything they could, and in the end just fell short. Tonight's Go Route player of the game is Tremaine Hill of the Katy Tigers. Unofficially, 28 carries for 122 yards, 4 touchdowns. Way to go, Tremaine.
Well, how about that? Those Katy Tigers, man, they always find a way to get it done. 41 37. Your final score there, down there from Dickinson. He does that. He lets you think that there's hope, and then he takes it away.
His heart rate monitor just doesn't go above 65, and he's like, "We're good to go, baby. This is par for the course." First of all, credit to Dickinson, great game. Katie has been doing this for as long as I can remember, and that man on the sideline, Gary Joseph, just does not break a sweat.
You have fun tonight, partner?
That was pretty cool. Hoping you guys like the new format as well. We know it's a little bit different, right? We had 3 people, now we got 2 people. What's happening? People going in and out. That's cool. I like this. It's a little bit different from last year, but I like it. Chairs are comfy. Chairs.
10-star review on the chairs.
Wonder who bought those.
We appreciate you hanging out with us all night tonight on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. Again, want to remind you that we will be back here from the University of North Texas. A massive credit goes out to this entire crew of University of North Texas students helping bringing this show tonight to life for you. We'll be back here every single Friday night of the beautiful Texas high school football season from 7:30 to 10 o'clock. We have a special treat for you, though. I'm going to say some final goodbyes, and then in celebration of us being so excited that Texas high school football is back, we are going to give you the rest of that Aledo and Denton Geyer game for free. If you like this type of content, if you like those games, TexanLive.com/subscribe. You can watch games all year long on our platform. But a huge thank you to all of our students, for Vianney Moreno, our associate producer, the head lady in charge, Miss Mallory Hartley, our director, Blaine Tatum, Greg Tepper, Ishmael Johnson. My name is Ashley Pickle. We will see you again on Friday, but stick here and let's finish out Aledo and Denton Geyer.
Get a first down. And see if maybe they can't just make it a little bit easier for their special teams trying to get a punt away, not from their own end zone. Just over 8 minutes to go here in this one. Bearcats facing a 3rd and 5, and he is taken down in the end zone for a safety. 8 minutes even to go here on the clock, and Geyer has the difference maker as we currently stand, 32-30 over Aledo on the safety. Wow. This game has had just about all of it, folks. Explosive plays, kickoff returns for touchdowns, punt blocks returned for touchdowns. My word. And now a safety, too. Impressive job there. And it will be It will be going right back to Denton Geyer, too, following that safety. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back out to Denton, folks. We're joining Dave Campbell's Texan Live as we bring you Denton Geyer and Aledo. It's been a fun one here. As I mentioned before we went to break, this game has had a little bit of everything for everyone, folks. Just besides, I guess, a few intermittent spurts, it's just been wall-to-wall action here. 32-30, though. Geyer leads following that safety of Aledo in the end zone. So they kick it away back to Geyer following the safety, and it's taken at about the 40-41-yard line, and he barrels for about 10 yards up to the 50-yard line. So return of 9, and that will be where the Geyer Wildcats will start the ball with just under 8 minutes to go, leading 32-30. So Geyer, seeing if they can't really start to build some distance. So with that safety, again, a 2-point lead for the Geyer Wildcats. And a touchdown would make it a 9-point game. 2 possessions. No 2 ways around it for Aledo. So the Bearcat defense no doubt going to be looking to stop that. However, won't come on this play as the Geyer Wildcats get a huge rush. Number 2 there on that one. He goes from the 50 to the 24-yard line, a gain of 26. Both of these defenses starting to feel the stress of their respective offenses, struggling to keep them off of the field. Geyer looking left. He's got a man, and oh, wow. That probably should have been taken back to the house for 6 on that one. That cornerback on that one, I believe that was number 7. He got his hands on it as it was thrown wide to the intended wideout on a screen, but instead it goes in and out of his hands. So make it 2nd and 10 for Geyer. High snap. QB keeps it. I think there might have been a bit of a miscommunication there as the quarterback and running back in the backfield. Just both of them kind of acted like they wanted the ball. So the quarterback quickly feeling the defensive